these. I'm probably gonna have to cut off this like, "Are we streaming yet?" bit from all of the videos.
Everyone.
Yeah, like every single one. Yeah, we're good. Hello, stream.
Hi, stream.
Hey,
Hello.
stream.
Hello. Welcome to Bela'Dun and beyond. We are back
Yes.
to determine whether or not collectively 6.5 people, if you count the baby, can decide what happens to one squad. Amy has immediately frozen, as though she is asleep, but that is fine.
That's all.
Power.
So, me and Sevi were talking earlier, and I believe we are correct in thinking that Ulrich/Taryn wrote the notes last week.
I believe so.
Indeed.
Do you want to hit us with some sort of upbeat, comical genius recap? I expect it to be...
that half of it. Like, it'll be a recap. But
It needs to be like live at the Apollo standard. That's what I'm going for.
Oh yes.
I cannot,
Nothing less.
based upon that level, I'm sorry. I'm going to fail you all. So, Livia talks with Raina about Serenity and past encounter with a monk. Also talking about the party's past, all the shit times that have happened. A lot of shit.
Times.
It's mostly great, but
Great times.
some shit.
Oh god, the
Oressia
music's
turns
picked up in a really weird way. One sec. Oh no, it might
But I was
be
just getting to the punchline.
My
Shit.
bad. Carry on. I know I'm ruining your set. You got a solid 10 minutes. I'm fucking it up for you.
Fuck. God damn these hecklers. Yeah, so Oressia turns up, and it's like, whoa, shit. But we had the person leading our squad. That's a bit weird. And she meets Agatha for the first time. Great times were had. Agatha's a fucking, but we love her. Taryn meets Alaylor, and they exchange scrolls. They have a nice, good chat. Taryn's just a bit of a babbly fan person, if anything, of magic. Taryn, Oressia, and Nemea and Vice regroup. Vice does a good spook, the best spook of all, for Oressia. She
That was a good
was
speech.
not
Oh
very
yes.
about the spook.
Oh yes.
Vice tapped Oressia on the shoulder, and she was like, "Oh no!"
I remember that.
This
Not
did
my best
happen.
Very
impression.
much like that. It was very much like that.
Livia and Raina discussed the cart, various elements of their past. More discussions in the mess hall. That's the words that I'm looking for. And talk about suspected elven stalkers be out and about after the military. Not surprising, because we're in their land. Taryn receives fucky whiskey, has a good old drink of that. Good old times. And Vice follows his 100% not crush, definitely doesn't fancy her in any way whatsoever. Not at all. Definitely. For sure.
His wife just died, man.
Not really
Shit,
just anymore. It's been a while. It's not been like a year, which you think would be like an okay amount of time for the death of your like married partner, but it's,
Yeah, which of whom I didn't see much of, because she disappeared.
that's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I had already had a gap.
there's been a while since
Yeah.
what's her name, Fina left. To be fair,
That's fair. That's fair. Still definitely doesn't fancy Raina at all. At all.
Oh no.
Yeah, Oressia attempts to allow Agatha access to the mess hall. Doesn't work. And Taryn is super drunk, which, causes him to get that drink stolen by a thief and a liar. A rogue, some may call it. Yeah.
a knave.
Ghastly wench.
Livia is also very mad just at the mere concept that Taryn and Nemea are really bad at reconnaissance. Never said we were good at it. Vice.
Could have said you weren't good at it.
You just
I
gave up
still
the
blame
first
the
hurdle,
I mean,
No,
we've
I refuse
forgotten
for you to
to
blame the chicken and everything. Think you're going to blame the chicken on bad weather and everything.
it was definitely chickens. For me, especially. I was nowhere near the chickens. Yeah, and Vice does a good bit of reconnaissance on the other hand, following Raina. His many various discussions in the Serenity tent. I don't seem to have written down what's on it, I'm sure. whatever he knows. Down.
Still a bit cutty, Ulrich. Have you got that?
Yeah, I'll turn
Oh,
the
we're about to
suppression
get-
thing off just to see.
I would
Is
say
that-
make your tolerance different, but keep the suppression. But whatever works.
I've turned the suppression off now because then I'll just talk this and I'll turn it back
Okay, cool.
on. Yeah, Livia and Oressia discuss what Livia's learned. Some little exchanges. A furious exchange between Oressia and Taran ends in him being restrained against the table, is what I wrote here. Basically, lots of stuff happens at the mess hall. Taran's drunk. Not a lot of shit was getting done except by like 3 people. But it was all pretty good. We return. There is a cage for the bird. Very nice. Discussing with Vice what he learned. Fucky Lieutenant is suspect. Whose name I haven't written down on here.
It was the last thing written in roll 20 until we all started rolling dice.
Lieutenant Hauser.
Hauser. There we go.
Yep.
Yep, the party discusses plans on the future. Big egg. That is all I've written, just big egg.
Big egg.
Oh, yeah,
There
we've
was
got
an
an
egg.
egg.
Okay. Yeah, we do.
Dinner is sorted. Delicious. Oressia discussed the topic of the lieutenant presiding the Serenity Squad. Off to find Hauser. Good sleep. There we go, that's it.
Mhm.
Okay.
I remember Oressia having an excellent back and forth with Hauser,
Oh shit.
probing him for information. I remember that.
Oh, wasn't it
Um,
the other guy?
That wasn't Hauser.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was,
it was-
It was
Ashen.
Ashen. Yes,
Ashen Crown Touch.
yeah, it was Ashen who yeah, that was excellent.
That was
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. I remember that
I mean, it
part.
just made the whole rest of the session completely redundant, but sure. We all sucked so hard.
Shh, don't worry about it, don't worry about it.
You did. No.
Fan service.
You got half a
So-
bottle of fucky whiskey out of it, so...
So when we last left off, was it early morning then? I've got it down as early morning. What do you guys remember?
Yeah, we slept, and then
But Oressia left early, right?
mhm.
No?
I don't
No, it was
No,
the night
she
before.
left.
It was the night before.
I thought it was
Night
the night.
before, came back, told them what I knew, and then we decided to go to sleep for the night, and then we were going to wake
Oh
up.
yes,
and...
we did wake up. The chicken woke us up,
Yes.
and then I fed
Well,
up.
we didn't wake up. I think you just woke up because the chicken woke up early, and you
Yeah.
thought the
I
chicken
fed up.
hadn't went back to sleep.
Mhm.
So what was the culmination of the conversation between Oressia and whoever she spoke to the night before? Was that Ashen?
That was
Yeah,
Ashen.
Cool.
Mhm.
Because that was before we had dinner, she came back.
Mhm.
What was the crux of that conversation?
Ashenhauser is our
Mm.
look
You
at.
got the name.
Yeah.
Right, I am with you. Okay, cool. So, having returned, you'd already shared the information, had you, before going to sleep?
Yes.
Cool. So having had the sleep, those of you not already awake, a la chicken, are currently asleep and probably won't be asleep for a whole lot longer. Why don't we just quick roll not investigation, that makes no sense. Initiative, there you go, that's what I'm looking for. Initiation is the wrong word, but it's along the right lines.
Also, who's writing notes this week?
Good question.
Be my turn, I think.
Cool.
Fair enough.
Ooh,
We have
nice, Namaya.
Nice.
Bad. Oressia.
Okay, so Nemea, you wake up and you see Livia sort of haphazardly feeding Agatha over in the corner. Is there anything you want to
Oh.
do?
Good morning, Livia and Agatha, of course.
Morning. Sleep well?
Yeah, I slept really well.
Whew, good.
Vice, you
should
wake
Ooh,
up
we
not
get to
long
eat eggs,
afterwards.
I woke up. Yeah.
You're
It's
up.
like, I'm up. Oh,
that-
Time for eggs.
That wakes up the
Morning,
rest of you.
guys.
Big egg?
I don't know. Does she lay more eggs overnight?
I think it was decided that she had laid it quite late, so it was too soon for her to have developed another egg.
Okie dokes.
So yeah, guys, I definitely need that egg this morning. Don't know about you lot, but
Morning.
Can we make an omelette?
Yes. Let me just get
By
out.
we mean
Wait,
you.
do we need a couple of eggs for that? Oh shit.
Oh no, this one egg
It's
is
a giant egg.
It's a giant
I
egg.
don't know that it's a giant egg. It came out of a chicken.
You said it was massive.
You said it was a giant egg.
I
you
said it was a
like-
big egg. I did not describe it as like an Easter egg. It's an
Come
egg,
on, then.
an egg at the larger side of what a chicken can produce. It's not Guinness World Book of Records worthy, but it's not like a small egg.
So it's not enough to feed everyone.
One egg omelets exist. Whether or not you can Jesus style separate that out for everyone to have a meal, I don't know. That's on you.
No, but I will try and do something with it. Sure.
Okay. Roll your standard cooking roll. We'll do 7 rolls, 1 per step of making an omelette. No, we'll just take the 17.
17.
So that's
There we
a 20 total because you're supposed to add proficiency to your cooking rolls.
go. Yes, thank you.
So 20, you make a very passable omelette. It's perfectly good. I wouldn't say it's worthy of like a practice or anything like that because it would need more ingredients. But yeah, you make a surprisingly nice taste. Well, 1 egg omelette. That's going for what I'm going for rather.
Beautiful.
I feel like it could feed 2.
Yeah, sure. So guys, I made an omelette, but it's not enough to feed everyone here. So I don't know. I'm not going to be the one to say who should eat it.
I'm full.
Dibs.
You guys have it.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'll let.
Wonderful.
How many does it feed?
2.
Uh,
Okay.
2 people.
So Nemea and
Ice, I think.
I will
I'll
take
eat a
out
ration.
a shitty Russian pack. Just eat my regular bread.
I shall eat the egg. Why
Okay.
not?
Oh, it's gonna be so nice. Excited.
Yes, it will.
so
Thank you.
let's check the calendar and see. I believe we're sort of midsummer. We are midsummer.
Murders.
So it's early, very early in the morning, probably about a little bit later than what I had there. Yeah, kind of 7-ish if I was to put a time to it. Sun is well risen, though not like right above the trees at this point. There is light. You can hear the general bashing and going abouts of the military around you. You also hear a few groans from nearby tents of those that don't sound too well. Which kind of catches you as a little bit odd, given that, you know, as far as you're aware, there haven't been any excursions that have resulted in injury or anything like that. The day is pretty much yours, and what you guys want to do with it is entirely up to you at this point. We're kind of at a point now where I can't really guide you because there's too many variables. So whatever you guys want to do, let me know.
Sure. So
What-
is
What is our
Aurelia-
task?
Oh yeah, we're all awake. Your yawn woke us.
Okay. Sorry about that, Lieutenant. Like,
I'm
so
just
what's
Aurelia.
it's like bed.
Yes.
What's our next move?
Do I know, Josh? Do I know anything about Bastian Hauser as a fellow lieutenant?
I think we rolled history on this last session, and I believe that
Did I ask? Yes, it
I
was
think-
him. I asked.
I think
Yeah.
you know of his. You know,
You know
of
the
his
name.
I know of him, but I'm not overly.
but you don't know
over-
him personally, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the cart. We didn't really get any concrete information on the dodgy hilts. Those swords, we know. Hauser provided to Ashen. Now, I find that unusual, as that would normally be Tristan's job. I would have thought. So,
I would say
I think-
that Tristan wouldn't necessarily distribute swords to be made. Tristan would sell more specialist items. Also,
Or the
I'm pretty sure
lieutenant-
his name's Kristen. Where is it?
is it
Yeah,
Chris?
It's Kristen.
Sorry, everyone gets the name wrong.
Yeah, so
Alright.
I would say that it's still odd that a lieutenant would be involved in such a menial task, but that weaponry would generally be made by low low-ranking people in the military, when it's standard issue weaponry like these swords were supposedly, specialist items you would get from Kristen. And I would say it probably does strike you as odd that a lieutenant would be passing on this sort of task to another squad like a sergeant and their lessers.
So that's where we are. We're at a bit of a crossroads here because the path forward isn't clear. So let's look at our options. We need to determine Hauser's agenda, and if there is an agenda in the first place. It just seems unusual that there would be so many accidents and and misfortunes for one particular squad. My approaching Hauser, I know of him. I'm not particularly friendly with him, so he's not going to say anything to me. If I try and open up a line of conversation, I don't see that getting us anywhere. I think, if anything, that might close off other avenues to us. So I think we need to find out.
Do you know anyone that's close to him that you could
Do I
talk
know
to?
anyone that's close to him?
Well, you know a number of people in the military, and I would say that it's fair to assume that anyone outranking him has probably given him orders at some point, and anyone under his rank has probably potentially taken orders at some point. Asking around generally is probably a fair way to go. I don't think, given that you don't know him too well, that you would know who he is speaking to regularly or often. You don't know who his close friends are, for example.
Would I know who his commanding officer is, who he reports into?
I wouldn't say so, no.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, Lieutenant. I mean, you're more familiar with the military, the ways and works of how things go here. This is just purely it's really a question. I mean, where do the requests or missions come from? Like, is there a source? Like, they come from one place, and then they get distributed out, maybe? Or is it from different people? Different people have different type of missions. Someone at the top has to know where the missions, what mission is vital for people to do. Do you have any idea about that?
So a leader of the camp.
Do I have any idea about that?
So, generally...
It's me talking now.
Yes. Generally, the military works the same way you would expect of a sort of large-scale business. Those that come across tasks that require doing, who hold a rank that are in a position to distribute that task and have it resolved, will do so off their own back. If the task or issue at hand is large, pressing, or urgent enough that people above that person are to be involved, then that person would be inclined to do so. And if a task comes in, for example, if a private saw a wood elf, just caught a wood elf scout at the edge of your current encampment, he could potentially, or she could potentially go after that person, but the more likely route would be to, shout alarm and then gather a group to go after that person. And if it was then, okay, we've been found out, we need to scout the woods in better detail, then that would be fed up the chain until somebody makes the decision. In terms of the chain, Aresia is quite high up. The ranks are private, which you guys hold an equivalent rank to. Corporal, sergeant, I believe. So Rayna is a corporal, and Ashen is a sergeant. Asteros is also a sergeant. Yep. Chief sergeant, lieutenant, such as Aresia or Bastion Hauser. Captain, I believe you've come across a captain. No, I don't have any captains here that you guys are familiar with. You did come across a chief sergeant, but you wouldn't have known his rank, so I'll skip that. After captain, there is major, colonel, general, and then the only person above a general would be the king himself.
Is it worth maybe... Okay, sorry, go on. I don't know if you're having a response yet. Sorry. Aresia?
That's me up.
Oh, okay. So let's say I said all that. So one strategy that we could utilize, and I'm opening the forum here to any other ideas, is we could utilize your invisibility again, guys. But do so once we have unsettled Hauser. So perhaps we could have a conversation in earshot, questioning the unusual nature of the hilts and cart, and how we could potentially be gossiping about sabotage, and someone not being careful about not covering their tracks. I don't know. And then seeing where he goes beyond that and what he does.
Yeah, I mean,
a strategy.
Yeah. I'd like to also point out, Lieutenant, that my ability to become invisible, I can also bestow it onto anyone else here. So it doesn't necessarily need to be me, but I can give the ability to anyone here.
Are there any drawbacks to you giving it to anyone else?
Well, the drawback generally for this ability is you can't do anything harmful to anyone, and you also can't do any type of spell casting in any way, or else it will break the ability. So, but that's just general. That happens with me. It's no different to anyone else here.
Okay.
No. So,
what about the rest of you? Do you have any ideas or any thoughts on where we go next?
Well, you know that I can change my face and my appearance. Very nice.
Do. Although, with that ability, what could we do with that now?
Well, if you want to be spreading rumours and such nearby this Hauser, best not to trace it back to us. I can easily hide my identity that way.
Interesting.
I feel like we could approach Ferdy or whatever her name was and tell her what we've learnt so far and ask for her opinion.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, actually. There, Livia?
Like, we found this out. We're not 100% sure. It could be rumours. We don't want to overstep our mark. Like, I feel like that's probably the better idea rather than guess and then maybe make the wrong choice to blow it or not find out enough information and then have to tell them anyway.
No one would guess. It was merely trying to get as much information as we could before going back. But we certainly could go back and report to Ferdy. I just feel that we haven't a lot to go back to her with yet.
Well, we've got more than what we originally had, and it might stir up something from her, maybe. Who knows? She may even know where the mission came from. Her being a higher rank than any of us here.
Where which mission came from?
Where this whole the cart incident.
Okay.
That's involving the cart. So although she wants us to investigate that, she may know where it came from, that we could go investigate, elsewhere on that front. Or we can, I don't know, knock out the guys in his team and impersonate them.
Definitely not.
I feel that would be.
We could.
Cool.
I mean. I was about to call you Elcast. Sorry.
Throwback.
Taran's already proven that he's able to defeat one of them. I mean, who's to say that we couldn't do the same?
I don't think his face could take.
Taran, you are not coming through, man.
Excuse me, I won't be a moment.
Like at all.
He fully beat me up.
Oh, did he fully beat you? Oh, shame.
Yes.
Okay, never mind then.
I mean, it was a good fight. Like, I was close. I could have done it.
I think making enemies of the one allies we have in the middle of a dangerous wood is probably a bad decision. We should definitely try and stay on the good side as much as we can.
So as Livia says, she'll be back in a moment. She steps off outside the tent and you just see her kind of walk off. The conversation's still mid-flow as she does this. You all see it. She announced
I think, as Livia did mention, we can go to Ferdy. I think that would be I just don't think that would be prudent to do so. We are not going back to her with any information, and if anything, we're just showing that we have yet to find anything concrete. We do know that there is something unusual, not necessarily anything sordid or anything malicious, but we do know there's something unusual with the manner of Lieutenant Hauser providing these weapons when they wouldn't normally fall to a lieutenant. So if we can get to the bottom of that first and then report to Ferdy, depending on what we find, I think that would be wiser. I think right now, if we go back, all we're going to tell her is we've done a bit of eavesdropping and we haven't really got much to go on. That doesn't really show.
Lieutenant.
Yes.
Do you have any idea of what sort of protection, what sort of what kind of routes the guard, like the various people are going around the camp? Do you think we're well secure? Do you think people are going out into the forest that much?
What do you mean?
Because as far as I know, I don't actually know if they would have mentioned this. Did anyone mention the fact that there were elven scouts? Because I don't know if I'd actually know this.
You all
Like possible stalkers.
You all saw people attacking the mayor in Asteros that followed you for a while, and you all obviously fought a bunch of elves on your escape up. Orestia wasn't there, I don't believe, or Orestia, were you there for that? No, you were there for that, before the fog.
No, I was in the tower when we saw them running away. Yeah.
But no, you were there when they followed you and then left you at the fog as well.
I mean, like, the discussion that happened between, I think it was just Olivia and Raina. Because somebody got information that there was possible elven stalkers with the whole caravan deal. I just don't know who was told specifically about that.
I don't remember elven scouts with the caravan situation. I know that
like, there were rumours, that's what I mean, apparently.
A mission was provided to you three to scout into the woods. And, like, take...
No, I think I know what he's on about. I don't think it was...
Yeah,
like,
speaking
part
as
of the conversation...
Yeah, part of one of these conversations, which I'm assuming is between Livia and Raina, I've written down suspected elven stalkers. Like, I don't know if they would have mentioned any of that at all. If not, then
when it was described, I took it as like he was just describing the scenery sort of and the setting, that there were people in the woods and that there were always people in the woods, rather than
I feel like in passing a couple times I'd mentioned like movements in the bushes and potential humanoid figures and stuff like that. That's more a case of like, if you go deep into the woods, there's a chance at any time you're maybe seeing wood elves.
You referenced it when I was talking with Raina about some of the stuff that happened that she was telling me about, but I took it more of a like, this was the setting.
It was not my intention to suggest that they were clearly involved in any of the events that transpired, outside of the fact that you are in their wood and it is likely they are possibly nearby.
Like Raina like brushed something off and was like, oh, you know, there's like elves in the woods, or someone said something and was like, oh, I heard something in the woods, and it was like, well,
yeah, that's why I only listed as suspected. My question is, would that have been mentioned at all to Taryn?
I don't feel like Livia came back with that report, so I would say no.
No, I don't think I would have.
Well, either way, thinking as Taryn probably would, I just want to know if like patrols and stuff, are they going that deep into the forest? Because I know they asked us to do that other mission.
So I would say that you can all see people that are clearly on patrol, that are people that are on some sort of watch, like Meldar was, though his was poorly placed, I would say. Though that tent was south of the thing and not a million miles away from the edge of the forest. I wouldn't say that any of you have seen groups move into the forest, because none of you have looked. You've all been doing everything just more central to the encampment itself. However, you were simply offered a job to go into the forest and scout, so it's fair to assume that either somebody else took that job or jobs like that exist. Your choice.
Fair enough.
Lydia's back with us now, is she?
Not yet.
Okay.
Whilst you guys are... Go on, Taryn.
The general task that we got, like the suspicious things that were happening, Was it just things like this caravan and the weapons being all fucky and whatnot? Because I can't remember the specifics.
I think the 3 key points. Are you going to say something, Vice?
No, go on.
I was going to say the 3 key points that have been sort of raised were a number of weapons that were poorly put together. I think it was specifically the wooden hilts were sabotaged in some fashion, from what I remember. The cart wheel missing the peg that kind of held the wheel in place, which caused it to come off and need to be repaired. And meat being left out, which then kind of got soiled and was not recoverable. So a number of food stores being destroyed, seemingly accidentally. It's around this point, Livia, that you reach the origin point of the kind of groaning. And you see you've moved. In my mind, I had it sort of southernly, but you've had to kind of go south of your entrance to your tent and then wrap round. As you left, you've heard it was actually kind of more behind the tent, and you were probably just catching it from the opening in your tent. You move round, and you find yourself heading closer to the lake. And it takes you about kind of 20 minutes or so to get closer to the lake's edge, because your tent is stationed right up that end of the encampment. And as a result, you're not a million miles away from the edge of the lake. You see a number of soldiers stationed there, kind of 4 or 5. Some of them, like, leaning on pikes that seem to be their preferred weapons. And some of them are just kind of, not like howling, but occasionally they are making these kind of groaning noises of some sort of stifled pain.
How many of them are there, sorry? 5?
About 4.
4. And are they different levels of injured, I guess?
No, only 2 of them are sort of injured. 2 of them seem fine. Only 2 of them are kind of groaning and moaning, and it's not extreme, but it is often enough that the sound has travelled and caught your ear.
I assume I don't recognise any of them.
No, not massively.
And they're all dressed
In full kind of Stalvan garb.
But they don't look like sergeants or anything. They look more like privates.
There isn't really any kind of discerning feature from a sergeant to a private outside of them customizing their own armor, but your average person hasn't massively done that.
I'm just going to walk over and I'm going to look at them all questioningly, and then just I'm going to use my channel divinity, preserve life.
Okay, how does that work?
It heals as many people in the area up to half health to the total health points of 25.
Does it give you any kind of feedback on like how much was consumed of the spell or anything like that?
What do you mean consumed of the spell?
Like if you spend a certain amount of HP, does the spell inform you of the amount spent? Is it that specific?
No, so all it says is, as an action, you present your holy symbol and generate healing energy, and of up to hit points up to 5 cleric level, which is 25 for me. Choose any creatures within 30 feet and divide the HP among them. You can't heal someone more than their half.
More than half their health. Yeah, that's fine. So as you do this, the energy kind of flows out amongst them. Doesn't seem to have any obvious effect. But they do recognize the spell effect. They kind of stand up, quickly grab their weapons. The guy standing with the pike, you recognize to be a dwarven fellow, who was kind of leaning on it quite heavily, turns around, swings at you and points it at you, and sort of sees that you're seemingly not a threat, and it's just like, so is there something I can help you with? And he kind of goes, and just looks at you.
No, not at all. I heard you from not the way, and I have a calling to make sure that people are well, so I thought I would try and come and help. How are you? Are you guys doing okay?
No, we're fine. It's Nostril that's making all the noise, and he kind of like pats this tall gentleman on the side, and he's just standing there. He has his hand on his hilt still, absent-mindedly, not massively turning to you. As he does kind of half turn to you, you can see he's a little bit kind of green in the face. He definitely looks unwell. And the dwarven fellow just goes, "Yeah, no, we're okay. We're fine for duty."
You sound quite unwell. If you're worried about me telling someone that you're unwell, then you need not fear. I only wish to help if I can. You look quite green, sir.
No, not at all. We're okay. Certainly no worse for the wear than those that have gone unarrested. There's, I suppose, a bit of an illness travelling around at the moment. It's, nothing to worry yourself about, passing thing, I imagine.
Oh, an illness. It's not just yourselves that have been taken sick, other people too.
Well, we have, there's a sick tent, and some people are frequenting it at the moment. But, as I say, nothing to be worried about.
No, not at all. If you wouldn't mind, I would like to be able to help some that maybe are not as well as yourselves. Would you be able to point me in the direction of the sick tent, and maybe I could offer my assistance there, see if anyone requires anything?
Certainly, but it's a little bit early at the moment. I assume that most of them are probably asleep, but...
Oh no, I'll frequent later. after people have eaten their breakfast.
Are you not one of those outlaw privates that they've brought in? I don't recognise you outside of that group.
Yes, that's correct. I'm under Aresia Godwin.
You realise that they put you in the the top right of the camp because your tent is right. It's right next to the tent where we're keeping all the infirm.
No.
It's just sort of a shit place to put people. I thought that was something that you were aware of. Apologies.
What, you thought that we were aware of how the inner workings of an army worked, even though we're not in the army?
Well, you're serving under the sergeant and the lieutenant, so I assume somebody knew that they were getting.
We're quite not just the normal privates.
I thought you might know about the raw deal that you'd been given with your current location.
I'm fine with it.
Well, that's where you'll find them if you need them.
Thanks. Hope you feel better.
And then he just sort of turns and goes back to what he was doing.
Well, he was quite rude. And then I'm gonna head back.
Okay.
So did he imply that the sick tent was next door to our tent? Because that's
pretty
what I got
much
from that.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I just saw Vin's comment in the chat. So, before Livia returns shortly, is there anything you guys are talking about in the tent outside of what you have?
I'm just staring at the chicken.
I'm a bit deep in thought, just thinking about...
Vice?
No.
Okay.
No.
Aressa, I feel like you're good from your expression.
Silent.
Well, no, I mean,
I've said my bit.
I feel like if anything was happening, I'd be still trying to think up all these crazy ideas and different ways that we could.
I'm still waiting for Lydia to come back before doing anything.
As you come back through, not Aressa, you're already there. As you come back through, Livia, and pass through the entrance to the tent, you can see Vice seemingly, as visual as this can be, toying with the idea of making Egatha invisible and how this could possibly help the plan. You can kind of see it ticking over in his mind a little bit as he's staring at the chicken whilst kind of like moving his fingers as though he's beginning to cast a little bit.
I feel like you of all people are well aware that your spell does not disguise sound.
Yes, you are right.
Yes.
And
I don't think Egatha's quite up to speed on being told how to be quiet. So,
right.
Maybe a new plan?
At the same time, you can see Nemea is also just staring at the chicken for some reason.
Just stop bothering, Egatha. It's the morning.
At the mention of that, I mutter under my breath, just like, I could make us silent forever.
You can make a what?
Silent forever.
I'm going to look at him and glare at him. I heard that.
I'll just sort of do a little, sort of grip as if I'm about to do shocking grass, just...
Maybe I won't heal you next time.
Lydia, where had you gotten off to?
I just heard some strange noises over on the way. I thought someone was in pain, so I thought I was going to just check to see if anyone needed anything. Turns out it was just some rude arseholes, nothing to worry about.
Oh?
Are they dying for any in particular reason?
dying of rudeness and bad stomach pains, perhaps. Apparently, there's some sort of illness going around the camp, Aressi. Have you heard anything about it?
That's news to me.
They weren't
What
very
kind of
forthcoming and
illness?
decided to rub it in our face about how we've got the awful side of the camp and how we're next to the sickly, which is apparently part of a bad deal.
But I've known
Either
that.
way, I tried
Yeah,
to
I
heal
feel
them,
like you would have known the
better.
positioning, but also sort of expected it a little bit.
Okay.
Either
Well, we're
way, I
lucky
told
to
them I
have
didn't
help,
care
yeah.
much. I found it quite ungrateful, seeing as I walked over and tried to make them feel better with what I could muster this early in the morning. I asked them to point me in the direction of the sixth scent to see if maybe we could find it. Maybe this is another one of, I don't know, something going on.
Well, why don't you stay and take care of Amelia here, and I'll go next door and see if I can get any information on what's been occurring with this mysterious illness.
They seemed very shifty about it. They were very, I don't know, odd.
About this illness?
They were like, "Oh, we're fine," while they all looked like they were going to puke their guts up on their shoes.
How many are you talking about here?
4, and then I'll sort of point in direction as to where they were.
Only half of them looked ill.
Okay, a couple of them looked ill. And they said that a few other people had come down with something and then told me to not worry my pretty little head about it, I guess. Anyway, seems odd, and given how much odd is happening around here, I thought best to not ignore it.
Well, it's definitely worth knowing if there is some kind of illness that could hinder us or any of the other squadrons here. So just take it easy for a moment. Look after the chicken. I'll go and just have a quick, just a quick word with the infirmary.
Okay. So, as you guys collectively, wondering whether or not the bot is actually going to play, there we go. As you guys collectively take some time to relax and do your own thing, Aressia, you head a few, like 10, 20, 30 meters down the way, and find this tent where some of the infirm are being kept. You can see one person there who seems to be tending to them, but otherwise they're generally all asleep at this time.
All right. Do I know the person that's tending to them? Am I familiar with them?
Roll history. And give me one moment whilst I do a thing.
Oh.
No.
What did you roll? Don't know if that
History.
has worked. Let's do this and then this.
Oh,
Oh, that's worrying. I think I've not moved the recording from last session. What is the recording in here? 44. Yes, that is bad. But I put it on YouTube, so we should be okay. Don't open on the right screen. Good, well done. You're familiar with the face, but you don't know her too well. She has a great sword on her back, and is wearing relatively heavy armor. She doesn't look to be the best person to potentially be looking after these people, but she seems confident enough in what she's doing, I would say.
okay. So she's not necessarily a medic. There would normally be a medic, though, wouldn't there?
Potentially, depending on whether or not these people needed active care.
All right. So I'll just poke my head in and say, good morning.
Morning. Are you not too well? I can look for somebody.
Please forgive my intrusion. I had actually just wanted to stop by and see what was happening. I'd heard a rumor from a few of the other troops that there was a bit of an illness going around.
Yes, there seems to be something that's traveling slightly. As to whether or not it's anything to worry about, we're not too sure yet. I'm mostly just on hand because I have some passing abilities in healing our soldiers.
I was going to say, you seem like you maybe placed elsewhere. Forgive me, I don't know if we've been introduced before. I'm Lieutenant Teresia Godwin, and you are?
Nice to make your acquaintance. She reaches out her hand. She says, Chief Sergeant, Evelyn Aurelius.
Oh.
Oh my lord.
Lovely to meet you.
And you, I believe I've heard the name.
Good things, I hope.
Of course.
Very good. Evelyn, forgive me, I'm not familiar with you. I do believe this may be the first time we have met. You said that you don't normally frequent the infirmary. You don't normally tend to the wounded here?
Not usually, no. Having travelled some time a while ago, I am usually more in the field.
Yeah, I see, with a great weapon like that, it seems unusual to have it stored in a...
Yes, not quite a healing item, I suppose.
Who would normally be here then? I don't understand why...
Well, there are those that are more classically trained, doctors and the such. I did some time in my younger years as a nurse and have some capability. And she kind of looks at her hands for a moment as she says this, and just kind of looks back at you and she says, I'm simply watching those for now until we can determine exactly what the nature of this illness is and hopefully resolve it.
Do you have any kind of knowledge of the symptoms? Anything that I or my troops can be aware of, look out for?
It seems that simply a passing illness is taking over some of the troops and eventually rendering them
dead,
unenergetic enough to require sleep for quite some time. They are able to be roused, but they don't seem well enough to deal with their regular duties for now.
Aside from being lethargic, are there any other physical symptoms?
Not really. I would say they certainly look somewhat ill, but nothing too extreme.
Okay. Have you been stationed at this tent? You've said that you've only just you don't normally do this. Who was doing it before you got here?
I'm not certain of the name. We have somebody who's a more well-practitioned healer, but I've been doing this for a number of days now. Not long after the encampment was set up, I took over this role.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I'm quite eager to pass it over if you do know anyone.
Well, I'll certainly keep an ear out for you. What squad? Well, you're Chief Sergeant, aren't you? Hang on, where's Chief Sergeant in the...
One below
Chief
you.
Sergeant, Chief Sergeant, Lieutenant.
Sorry, yeah, it's below. Let me check. It is... Yeah, one below you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll certainly keep an ear out for you. What squad do you normally belong to, Evelyn?
Having spent some time traveling and having seen those people move on, I'm not currently part of any sort of squad. I'm taking passing orders as they come my way. I'm useful nonetheless, but I'm not currently part of any specific squad.
Well, we are just a little bit down the way there. We're very, very close, about 30 feet or so that way. So if we are out on a mission and you need any assistance with anything, do just let me know, and myself or one of my troops will come over and assist. This seems to be quite a tall order to handle on your own.
Well, whilst they're asleep, it's relatively boring. But I thank the offer. Very kind of you, Lieutenant. I'll keep it in mind.
Thank you. May I ask that if you do get any more information on this mysterious illness, if you wouldn't mind passing it on so that we can safeguard ourselves? I mean, the army is not going to be at its best if we're all stricken. So if we can do anything to prevent it.
Certainly, I'll keep you in the loop as long as I'm here, and I will direct whoever relieves me to do the same.
Okay. Well, it was lovely meeting you. I best be off.
And you.
Back to my troops, and have a good day.
And you as well. Good day.
I'll go back to the tent and just say to the guys, right, everyone, haven't really found anything else. It's a mysterious illness that seems to be just making people very lethargic and low energy. I am a bit surprised that the person there is more of a warrior than a medic, by the looks of it. She's carrying a very large sword on her back. I wasn't expecting that. Lovely lady, though.
I knew.
I'm more than happy to offer my assistance should they need it. I mean, healing is certainly what we call my forte.
Well, I did offer our services and did tell her to come and let us know if she did need anything. However, she did say that it was more boring than anything, as they were all mostly asleep. So, yes, I wasn't familiar with her, though. She did say she was a chief sergeant here, but I'm not familiar with her. Haven't heard her name before.
What was her name?
A lovely lady. Her name was Evelyn.
Oh, okay.
She had a very large, great sword.
Lovely name.
Yes.
It is a lovely name. Yeah, she had a very nice demeanor about her.
Was she old?
I would
Shouldn't say that.
That's a rude question.
Wow.
What do you call
Oh
old?
my gosh, Taryn, man. What's wrong
I
with
mean,
you
define
nowadays?
old. I mean, I'd say she's a good
40.
15. Yeah, 15 years or so, my senior, maybe.
15 years.
About that. I'd say she's in her 40s, 50s. Not that I would ever ask a woman that, of course. That's very, very, very uncouth.
Taryn, you're looking very flustered. You all right there? Yeah?
Just for my personal sake.
Got a thing for the older women? Do you?
I'm rolling a dice for my own personal sake to see if I think I would be curious or not.
Well, she said her name. Sevi, can you remind me of
She had a great sword.
the specifics of what went down?
Hmm.
You don't remember?
Well, it sort of ended with them going back to Stalvin, didn't it? So, well, not Stalvin. Well, yeah, they went back to Stalvin. They got picked up outside the bakery again by your favourite friend. But they went down in the tomb.
Remind me of the
Okay,
they
there's
in
much
this
else.
situation. Was it Taryn, Kovu, Evelyn,
Etin?
Etin?
And
That was it?
That was
Oh
it.
yeah, that must be it. It's me that's the other person.
Yeah.
But you DM'd.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was
That's the
before-
thing. That's where you went down into the water cavern.
So I would say then, Taryn, from the name Evelyn and the mention of the weapon, probably just from the name alone, and the fact that you all went back to Stalvin and that's where it ended.
It went back with you being teleported out of Stalvin, going back to Viorum. That's how it
Yes,
ended.
yeah. So when was
So I
that?
don't
That
know
was
what
set
happened.
15 years ago, right?
15 years ago. And I think Evelyn, correct me if I'm wrong, Namaya, was like in her 40s then. So
She was 39.
Yeah.
Yeah.
cool.
So Taryn, you would remember the name. Specifically, your story saw you see out Viorum to the end of Viorum.
I definitely imagine I would have quite fond memories of that group because I'm pretty sure that prospect was that we'd been adventuring together for a while.
Yes.
Yeah, you had been together a while.
Yeah.
Not
So
like 10 years, but definitely enough to know each other and be sent out on another mission.
it wasn't your
I-
first mission collectively, but I think it was like first sort of. You hadn't hit double figures in my mind.
Yeah. I will sort of just jump up and just be like, Lieutenant, is it alright if I just take a couple of minutes? I have a slight hunch about something.
A hunch? Wait 1 moment. A hunch is fine. Will you tell me what this hunch is?
I think I know this, Evelyn. I just need
Oh?
a few minutes. That's.
You know someone?
I know a lot of people.
You know
thank you very
people?
much.
You just don't strike me the sociable type.
Really? I did not take
Really?
you for the type. Arisia said she was an older woman. I didn't pin you for that, Taryn.
Is she a girlfriend?
No,
Ex-girlfriend.
she is like a mother to me. Don't you dare disrespect her like that.
Oh.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Well,
I'm quite.
Taryn,
So I just sort of turn around and start moving.
Taryn,
Okay.
Should we follow
please
him?
don't cause any chaos when you're gone.
You may have follow him.
She's more
No,
like
let him go. If he believes he has an acquaintance, that's fine. But no shenanigans, please.
she's more
Yeah,
likely.
no shenanigans.
Yeah, I would.
Let
Okay.
him go.
So you go. I won't. I don't know if you want to get something specific outside of a reunion from it. Let me know. But Avelin's side of the story is that when Viorum disbanded, Etin went to seek out his clan. Kovu went with him, and she returned to Stalvin and enlisted not long after. Given that her family had either, well, one of them is dead, and the other two had already left the coop by the time she was adventuring with Viorum. She's not privy to the fact that for the last however many years, and we haven't fleshed this out on Taryn yet, but I envision it as sort of like the last kind of 5 years or so he's been imprisoned, ending up where he is now. The 10-year gap between that quest and what happened would have been filled by just questing a bit more until Viorum broke down, which was roughly 5 to 6 years ago. So probably about a year after Viorum broke down, Taryn got arrested for whatever he did, which you can decide, around Stalvin. And you cut out then. I couldn't hear that.
That's okay.
And had been held since then. I suspect it would have to be probably tied to the crown in some effect. I'm envisioning a low-ish crime, but tied to the royal family, and as a result, the sentence was much longer than it otherwise would have been.
I'm expecting something like unbearably dumb. That was just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go do this.
In my mind, Taryn found out about some sort of magical object, or perhaps a spell book or something, and just tried to steal it.
The royal library.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I have in my mind. But what you want to specifically do is up to you. So you guys catch up about that. The time that you've been imprisoned is the time that she's been in the military, essentially. Whether or not Etin ever became leader of his clan, and what happened to Kovu afterwards, you guys don't massively know.
I will relay to her the fact that I've heard about Kovu, and apparently he's still out there doing stuff, and he's met with the people that I know.
Yeah, so
she'd be happy to hear that.
Still drinking.
Does it?
So having done whatever Kovu did with Etin, whether he stayed with him for a while or immediately left, you guys obviously ended up doing a quick mission with him back in Aegis, I believe. Near Aegis? Yeah. So that was 7 or 8 or 9 months ago now. So yeah, the group are starting to be placed a little bit. Obviously, you know where Taryn is. You now know where Evelyn is. You saw Kovu a while ago, and nobody really knows what happened to Etin and his attempt to take over his clan. But you do know, having spoken to Evelyn now, that that is what the two of them went to do.
Yeah. I'll just sort of the kind of dumbness of how I got caught, and it would be a nice little reunion and everything.
Okay.
Talk about the camp, see if she's knows anything weird about what's going on. I feel like I'd confide in her and my current stuff, what's happening with our group.
She probably, I would say, she would reassure you that whilst you've kind of come into the service of the military on strange circumstance, that if you are to carry out your part of the bargain, it's likely that the other half would be upheld, and that the king and the military itself are generally quite honourable. The king is a man of his word, and she would expect that if you were to aid in this war, that you would get the freedom that your group supposedly seeks, as you explained to her how you ended up in this situation.
Quite like, sort of like, yeah, I hope so. Not necessarily, like, I believe her, but don't necessarily trust in lots of people keeping their words, because not a lot of people can be trusted half the time. But either way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like after a little bit of having a good old chat and whatnot, I'd head back. Just be like, yeah, I'll
Okay.
talk to you later. Feel free to visit.
So go on.
Sorry. No. I was just going to say, while Taran was kind of gone doing his thing, I would be talking to the rest of the group, saying that basically saying we need to agree a plan of action and go forward. We're wasting too much of the day.
So just to clarify, this is to yourself, Josh.
I'm with you.
Just to clarify about the information I found from or I heard in the text. Yeah, because I wrote down notes, but obviously it was going quite fast, so I want to make sure that everything's clear. This
You're asking me stuff from a week ago.
Well, I mean, I just want to be sure, and feel free everyone else, just to get involved. But the cart incident with the wheel falling off and all that jazz, was that involving just food?
No. So
or was that involving the weapons and food?
So the weapons is one incident entirely separate to the cart.
Yeah.
The food is a separate incident entirely separate to the other two. And the cart was generally transporting like supplies. Food would have been in there a little bit. Weaponry would have been in there a little bit. People would have been in there a little bit. And that cart incident occurred on the way to set up this encampment. It's difficult enough anyway to get the cart through the forest because of the ridiculously like unmanageable terrain. But they had to maneuver all of the tents and things like that somehow, and people couldn't just carry them. It would have taken a fuck ton longer. Yeah, you've got 3 specific incidents.
Yeah.
The cart being one.
That all happened to this one squad. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, Livia, I hear what you say about going back to 30. I just feel that will highlight our shortcomings because we're not going back with any information yet. We're just going back to say we've been inquiring and we haven't really got anything concrete.
I mean, I think we have a solid suspect, but
we got. No, I mean, I would agree. I would agree.
Is clearly telling this group to go and do dodgy things. We just don't know why.
Why do we say that? We've got Ashen's word on it, but how do we know Ashen isn't covering his own back?
Guess.
It's true, but it's still more information that, I mean, there's still more information than what we had before. And, obviously we've got 3 different instances, all involving this one squad. How does
It doesn't make sense to me that he would create, like, the impression I got from this guy is that he wants to do well and move up within the army as quickly as possible and be the big showman and the big I am. Like, he doesn't serve a purpose by causing fuck-ups. Like, that's not going to get him where he wants to go. Where he gets to where he wants to go by doing things that people that are higher up quickly and doing them for them.
Explore that logic for a moment.
His story makes sense.
Let's explore that logic for a moment. Let's recap the information we have. We have 3 separate incidents where we have a sabotage cart, subpar weapons, and rotting meat. We have a squadron who are itching to get out in the field and apparently are being given various menial tasks that their leader, Sergeant Thronecut, is just giving them willy-nilly because he's accepting pretty much every mission given to him by Hauser. Now, Hauser is behind these dodgy hilts, which it sounds like he did provide them, which is unusual. He did the unusual weapons. What does Hauser stand to gain from his subordinates failing?
Well, it means that he's not failing. He's covering his tracks. Getting other people to do your dirty work. It's quite a typical game plan, isn't it? Get other people to do the bad things that you want so that when they go wrong or if they get caught, it's not you, it's them.
But why? But that doesn't make sense to me.
And then he's picked a particular sergeant who seekingly obviously wants to, like, he's picked someone who he knows won't ask questions because he wants to do well and wants to get ahead. Like, he's not asked anyone. He's asked the one guy who, like, is willing to do anything to move up within the army.
Respectfully, that logic seems flawed to me. I don't understand how he would get ahead if his subordinates
That's the bit where I said we don't know. So we don't know why.
This is why I feel going to 30 right now is not the wisest move. Although,
but I don't see how we're going to find out what's going on inside Hauser's head.
Well, as I say, let's rattle him a bit and then just see what ends up. If nothing happens off that, then we can go back to 30 and say that we failed to give her anything concrete. I'd just be loath to do so. I have a reputation to maintain here, and you guys certainly have a means of proving yourself.
I feel like I've proved myself enough. I don't feel like I should.
As a collective.
Well, I mean, Lieutenant, obviously, and this goes really without saying, you're the only one in the position to even have hold a conversation with Lieutenant Hauser. I'd like to think. He's not exactly going to want to have a Yeah, exactly, and he's not going to. Well, what's he going to say to us? Really.
No, true. I agree with that. But once I have a conversation with him, he won't tell me anything. But if I can certainly get him, I don't know, just maybe put a thought or two in his head that unsettles him.
Well,
we see where he leads with that. See what he does.
Him and see if he goes and talks to what's his face.
Yes, I mean that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, go out there. Vice can turn invisible and stick around Ashen. We'll follow him, see if he goes to Ashen. If he does, Vice can go visible and go listen to what they say.
Well, which of you is the stealthiest? Vice, last time you were invisible, you got hurt.
Well, I mean, it was merely a flesh wound.
Taryn, you have fully returned at this point, just so it's clear.
Also, just as a side note, you knew someone stealthier. Yeah, I turn up against like. Oh.
Well, I mean, if
nice
I was
content look on my face.
Honestly, Lieutenant, I would like to, although I don't wish to do so, but especially after the last incident, I would probably consider myself probably the most stealthiest out of everyone here at the moment, I would imagine.
I would say of the four of you, Nemea, interesting. Roll20 is dying. Whether or not that means we're going to get disconnected or not, I don't know. I would say that you probably know that out of the four of you, Nemea and Vice are certainly stealthier than Oresia and Livia. I don't know that you know the full capabilities of Taryn to judge his ability as somebody who is stealthy.
Yeah, I mean, I grab Livia, Livia and pull her over. I'll be like, look at this. Look.
She rattles.
Look at all this armor. She is not stealthy. I mean. Sorry, Livia.
Hey, I still have a body under here, you know.
Well, you going to take off that armor and get out there? Go on, then.
Comes off quick.
You two. None of that. Keep your romance under wraps, please.
It does come off quick. This is new armor. It slips right off, like that.
Lightfoot. Please, flirting with Kavanaugh. This is too early in the morning.
Flirting, it's factual.
Anyway, enough this talk about
I don't love Raina.
Our comrades.
Rider, okay. That's
right. If you are happy to do so and willing, I would like you to be the tail, as you know the inner workings of this spell better than anybody.
Who's the head?
You say?
Okay.
Who's the head?
Oh, we go dress up as a donkey. Because that sounds
yeah, I mean, Lieutenant, you give the orders. I just have to do that, right? But it makes sense.
I mean, yes, whatever I do say, you do have to do. However, I would like it if we were all on the same page and we were all cause. So if there is any drawbacks or concerns, we need to discuss them before we head out.
No, sure. I think it probably would make sense for me to do it because should the time come and where the abilities start to expire, everyone here would be in a risky position. I would at least be able to, apply it back onto myself, if the time became lengthy.
So you're not going to follow Oresia and be invisible because Oresia is just going to tell us everything that happens anyway, so that's fine. So you only need to use it. We need to then follow him ideally, or just go and wait wherever Ashen is and find him and see if he approaches. And then if he does, you go invisible so you can listen to a conversation.
I don't think at this time in the morning that would necessarily happen. I think there's a lot of variables there. I think we need to jolt start this, and I think I need to, as I say, put a seed of doubt or a seed of worry in Lieutenant House's ear, just to see if he's an innocent man. Then, Vice, you'll find nothing, and you'll return to us with a report, and we'll go back to Ferdy with that. However, if he is guilty of anything or he has something to hide, that will become apparent as well. So either way, we'll get some sort of answer.
Sure. I mean, there's always I can hang around. I'm assuming he's got a tent. I can hang around where he is, and where you will go and visit him. And when I see you leave, that will be my cue to go in.
Josh, would I know where he is positioned right now this time of day?
I wouldn't say so. You would also know that, given that you weren't assigned your own very special little lieutenant tent, that he probably doesn't have his own specific tent that is just his. However, he likely does have a single point of location, which he's kind of, given that he's a lieutenant, he does outrank a fair amount of people. Even if it's a shared space, it's probably slowly becoming his space. Much as possibly another space, another tent may have started to become yours before you were put back in charge of this group.
And in terms of like a mess hall, like they wouldn't congregate for breakfast or anything, or?
Yeah, I would say that a number of people would probably congregate for meals. Like breakfast probably would be a larger time to catch people and the like. But only in terms of the general populace. There would be a fair amount of people already out on task that were eating from their own packs and things like that and didn't have time to attend a mess hall in the morning and then go back to their role. Certain people are working all throughout the night and whatnot, but if you're looking for a concentrated location of people, I would say that the mess hall at this sort of time is probably a good start.
Okay. Right. I think what we'll need to do is we'll need to set out and try and get some information from him, see what we can do, just see if we can shake him up a little bit. So the plan I'm proposing is I'll leave this tent. Vice, you'll follow behind me. Invisible, of course. We will say your spell lasts an hour.
It does.
Okay, so we'll find him as quickly as we can. Please take note of the time.
It's about 45 minutes to the mess hall.
Oh, is it? Okay, then don't cast the spell on the way out. We'll just find somewhere nearby, discreetly, that you can do it. But do come with me. And I will just attempt to open a line of conversation that he's definitely going to avoid. And then what I want you to do is, once I end that conversation, it will be a brief one. I'd like you to just trail him, listen to the conversations he has, look at what he does, and report back. What I don't want you to do is spend any longer than 50 minutes visible. Once you get to the last 10 minutes of your spell, no matter what is happening, I want you to retreat, and I want you to find somewhere safe where you can turn back to your usual state. Does that sound fair enough?
Sounds good.
Okay. Livia, Sharon, the mayor, have you any thoughts, any feelings, any other additions to this idea? No.
As you look, go on, Taryn. I'll go after you. When you talk quietly, you don't come through.
Sorry.
There we go.
Loud and clear.
So Taryn's been sort of sitting on his bed, looking at the three of you discussing this for the duration, and as he announced then, seems happy enough with it. Nemea is at the back of the room, standing slightly on one leg, staring Agatha in the face, and you see Agatha just kind of at the last moment just slightly raise one leg and kind of mirror Nemea in a... Say that again, Nemea? I'm hearing movement, but no words.
She has become one with the chicken.
Her
headset's dying.
That's cool. And you guys just kind of see this. Agatha's just like staring back at her.
Hello.
Oh, I've lost roll 20.
I feel like we're all with Virgin, and Virgin have, like, given that we had an engineer in our house today, Virgin have confirmed that their internet's basically going to be trash until the 4th of May. So
Yay.
We have Sky, but we're still technically with Virgin. That's what it is.
So, in terms of your current environment, outside of the fact that Nemea and Agatha seem to be connecting on a soul, like, spiritual level, it is still early in the day, but the kind of uptake of work and sounds of bashing about and people getting on with things has picked up a fair amount. As it has picked up, it has moved away as well. You get the feeling, and Aresia specifically, you would probably already know this, that the majority of the activities in this encampment don't take place in these kind of fringe camps. They're either past that because they're doing scouting of the general woods nearby, or they're more central to the encampment. It's quite a sunny day, and in this clearing the sun beats down happily enough through the space of the trees surrounding it, and given that you are quite deep into the forests around you are, or the trees specifically around you, are quite high, sort of 50 feet plus. There are any number of people passing you by at any kind of time. You could easily grab somebody if you wanted to. And given that you've all traversed the camp, aside from Aresia, given that you've all traversed the camp a number of times now, back and forth a little bit, you're able to make your way to the mess hall quite directly. You know the pathing happily enough. Aresia, you know the entire layout of the camp like the back of your hand. You help set it up.
Okay.
So it's up to you guys what you want to do. If you want to snap cut to nearby the mess hall, you're able to do so about 40 minutes later.
Yeah, I want to get to 5 minutes before we reach the mess hall. I bet find somewhere discreet for Vice to.
Yeah. So people sharpening weapons, moving barrels of things from one place to the next, pass you on your way by. You see in the distance Kristen kind of pulling up his cart to one of the larger tents, and he seems to be addressing somebody quite formally, more so than the conversations that you guys have had with him. Not so much with you, Aresia. He's quite proper with you, respecting your ranking. And after a while, approximately 45 minutes, you find yourselves in relatively close proximity to the mess hall, which you can see is far more populated than normal, with a sort of queue/rabble out the front of the doors. Vice, if you wanted to attempt to sidestep off somewhere and cast your spell, you can attempt to do so. I would say it's probably going to need to be stealth.
I thought that wasn't the way it was. No, don't worry.
What's that, Livia? Sevi?
I thought that the invisibility thing was happening later, but I think I'm just misinterpreting the plan, so don't worry.
Oh no, we're all well. I think the plan is for me to go into the mess hall with Aresia.
Probably should check that he's in there before we do. So you stay put. I'll go and just keep, because once you cast a spell, I mean that's it. You'll only have a limited number of uses.
Sure. Yeah.
Again.
And it's, gosh, it's going to be so tricky if we're in this mess hall. It's quite busy this morning. I'm going to have to dodge a lot of people.
So stay outside, and I'll have a conversation in there. And once you see, you don't know what Hauser looks like, do you?
I do not. Hang on, let me check if I don't think I have a description of him. No, I do not.
Nobody's met him officially as yet. You may well have passed him, but you wouldn't have known.
No, let's not waste a spell. Just stay nearby. Let's move a little bit closer, and let's find somewhere just discreet for you to kind of bury yourself away. And I will go in and have a look, and he'll. I'll see if he's in there. So you've not met Lieutenant Hauser before. If he is in there, what I'll do is I'll get him to follow me out. I'll find a means of doing so. And the man who follows me out, once you hear me cough twice like this, I want you to take that as that man is your mark, okay?
Sure. Okay.
Right, so are you prepared?
Yeah, the best prepared I can be.
Okay.
Guys, before you cast your spell, when you do, let me know, and I might be able to give you something to help with your movement.
She's not there, is
So
she?
we have already
Yeah,
left.
you're all collectively there. You've all left.
Oh, we
Oh, they've all
all.
come.
Did
I
everyone
assumed they
come?
had. It's up to you
assumed
two.
you had.
If you'd have told them
I
to
thought it was
stay,
just the invites leaving.
it's up to you guys.
Oh, okay. Don't worry.
Well, I mean, everyone could be there. They could be getting food because not everybody ate.
That's true, yeah.
Everyone was free. So as you two were sort
Yeah.
of looking to leave, I suppose the other three would have been like, "So what are we doing?" If that wasn't.
Yeah, come as well then.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
I want to
everyone's
head
there.
over towards Kristen.
Okay, so Taran offshoots at one point. Nemea, what are you doing if you're able to speak?
I am. I say I stayed back at the tent because I feel like if someone came to the tent looking for us, then I could be like, "Oh, they're off doing something."
Okay, so Egatha is with you in my mind. Is
Yes.
that fair?
Yes.
Blames the chicken for everything. He just wants to spend all our time.
Spencer. Yeah. It is now the mayor's chicken.
Hey!
It's
But
no
it's
longer
slightly
Olivia's
beginning
chicken.
to imprint on the mayor instead of Olivia.
That!
So Taran offshoots and just sort of mentions that he's going to speak to Kristen. The three of you carry on about another kind of 20-25 minutes and you reach this point at the mess hall. And Aresia, you move on past the crowds. Some of them don't get out of your way initially, but then as some of them recognize you and start to move, some of the others that are sort of forming the kind of queue that's going on here see you. They eventually all get out of your way, creating a free kind of path to move into the mess hall. You can see that it's pretty stocked. I had that drawing up earlier that I've deleted now of the kind of U shape of benches. All of them have people in every kind of seating position, fully sitting and eating. It doesn't seem to be the most fabulous food in the world, but it looks better than kind of standard ration packs. You can see Tanika, the half-elf girl that you met here before, quite like haphazardly and quickly serving people.
She's the one who wouldn't let me in with the chicken.
Yes. She wouldn't let anyone in with the chicken, to be fair.
Doesn't matter.
And there is a dwarven fellow with her now, who is seemingly doing most of the cooking. She seems to be fulfilling a more waitressy role, and he's doing most of the cooking. But everyone seems to be eating, and people are kind of trying to eat quick so that they can give up their position for somebody else to come in. There's a number of people standing with bowls in hands, just kind of eating out of the bowl, and then leaving it on one of the benches nearer to where Tanika is at the time.
Right.
It's quite bustling.
So, can I see Hauser in there?
You don't know what he looks like.
I do. You said I know of him.
I said you know the name.
Oh, I thought you said I was like briefly acquainted with him, but not friendly.
In my mind, you know him by name, but you don't know the man. Nor do you know like anyone he's close to. But you can certainly inquire as to whether or not he's here.
Okay. Where is? Okay. Can I just approach Tanika then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so she sees you and just goes, "Oh, Lieutenant, what can I get you?"
Nothing at the moment, thank you. I was just after Lieutenant Hauser. Just had a couple of things I just needed to put to his attention.
Oh, yeah, I think he's over there on the corner, and she's kind of mostly looking past you at the queue, and like points out a slightly chubbier fellow, like right on the far corner of where you're asking her. Quite close to the doorways, and you can see she's quite eager to get back to what she's doing as a result of the number of people.
Is he okay? Thank you, Tanika. I appreciate that. Is he on his own?
No, nobody's really on their own at this point. Everyone's kind of chicken henned in, like battery hen style. If there's a seat, somebody's in it.
Do I know anyone around him?
Roll history for me.
Okay. No.
Okay, and roll perception for me. Faces that you might have known. Faces that you might have known but would need to recall. You just can't place. Some of the faces you recognize, and you just can't place the names or the people. You're like, I've seen him, but I don't know why. But to be fair, I see a lot of people. And then as you try to recognize some of the people that you know in far more detail, you're just drawing a blank. Like, you know his name, but it's just not coming to your mouth for some reason. You can't place it, but there is a human fellow who is certainly part of Serenity Squad, and you just can't pick out the name, but he's not particularly sitting near where Hauser is sitting anyway.
Okay.
He's kind of 4 or 5 people up on the other side of the benches.
Okay, no, it'd be more of the people immediately around him. So I don't really...
No, you're just drawing a blank. It's maybe a bit too early for you. You've been hanging around with this group a bit too much and fallen out of your general duties that befit your ranking, and as a result, the order that is otherwise oversees your day has fallen a little bit loose with this group, and you find yourself unable to remember people's names that easily.
Okay, I'm just gonna stroll right over then to Hauser and hit him on the shoulder. And just say, Lieutenant Hauser, pleasure to meet you at long last. I'm Lieutenant Teresia Godwin. I'm going to stick out my hand.
Okay. He kind of looks over his shoulder, and immediately you see the guy sitting next to who was described as Lieutenant Hauser, like, props up awkwardly and almost like, what's the word? Like he's been caught at surprise.
Right.
And then Hauser turns back to you and just goes, "Oh, Lieutenant, seems maybe you've drawn something out of this boy." And the guy looks at you and just goes, "No, I did everything I was supposed to with the horse. It's been dealt with. I've resolved it."
Did you? Sorry, that you did you get that horse?
Yeah, yes. I've arranged it. I believe a message was sent or something, and it's being kept, possibly picked up. I located it. It took a long time.
Oh, well, very well done. I give him a clap on the back. I'm very, very pleased to hear that, Private. Lieutenant Hauser, is this one of your men?
No, I don't know the boy. I'm simply eating my meal.
Oh, well, apologies for interrupting. I just wanted to come by and say that I got the pleasure of meeting one of your sergeants, Sergeant Ashen Thronecut.
A good man. Doesn't work directly for me, but...
Oh, I apologise. I thought he did. I was going to see if you wanted to do a bit of a trade. As you know, I have a bit of an unruly bunch, and I was quite keen to get someone who was just so eager to just impress and listen to instruction.
He looks confused at you, like he doesn't know why your bunch would be considered like eager in some fashion. He doesn't really know what you're getting at, and he just like has a face of confusion for a moment and just goes, "Well, I try to stay out of the rumors. I can have this one. Make space for you if you need to eat."
No, apologies, Lieutenant Hauser.
His cast,
but this time of the morning, my humour's not at its best.
The boy to his side, like, does basically the same as what Taran did before, where he kind of rushes to stand up and bashes his knee on the bottom of the bench, and there's like a loud, like, bang as he, like, slams it slightly and then sits back down. And then you see Bastion just kind of turn to him, again with the same kind of confused look as, like, he's an idiot.
Has that guy gotten up, the one next to Bastion?
He kind of sat back down and is like rubbing his leg, like he's looking to you to see whether or not he can still have his seat or whether you want it. He's very much like subservient. He's willing to do whatever you say.
Are you still eating?
Oh,
if you're still eating, stay put.
No. This is this can be your food. And he stands up and like leaves his bowl half eaten. It's like, no, I'm perfectly full, and like steps up and goes around the back of you and just leaves.
Okay, I'm gonna just look at him and just say, "What an odd boy," and I'm going to take the seat next to him, but I'm going to face the other way. So it's like a bench, isn't it? Like a picnic bench.
Yeah, picnic bench style.
Okay, so I'm going to sit so that my legs aren't under the table. I'm going to sit with my back to the table on the bench. So I'm facing kind of like
I get you.
the other way. Okay. So
he's very much sitting like this. He's like head down, almost head in his hands type thing, but more in his meal. He's not really looking at you too much, and with his arm kind of in the way a little bit, has a defensive pose that doesn't look particularly welcoming.
Okay. Apologies, Lieutenant. I don't wish to disturb you. I just had overheard something in one of the senior tents regarding Ashen Thronecut and his squad, and I had thought you were the commanding officer, so I thought I'd best bring it to your attention. But if it's not you, then I suppose I could bring it elsewhere.
Well, my understanding is that Ashen takes any sort of requirement that comes his way. I had some work for him at the time, and I'm sure others have as well.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, if you've put some work his way, I don't quite know what has been given his way by whom. So if you have the names of the other lieutenants who may have been given him work, please let me know. But between you and me, and I'm going to lean in just to whisper to him, I have overheard some of the majors in one of the tents across the way saying that they're concerned about some of the unfortunate accidents that have happened, and they're launching an official investigation. Seems like they might be able to trace some of the accidents that happened to a single source. So
you see the two sitting across from you, seemingly overhear this, but just generally turn away. They kind of like very visibly go from like sitting opposite Bastion to just sort of like turning this way and like eating towards each other, so they're not really they're clearly like, we can hear you but we're not listening type thing.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to be like, I'm trying to be secretive but not overly so, like I'm like, you know what I mean, like I'm kind of doing a bit of a loud whisper, making panic. I'll try to anyway. So yeah, so yes, if you know who else has been giving Thronecut and his men any of the missions, do pass that on discreetly. It would be a shame if...
like I said before, I don't involve myself in rumors too much.
Oh, that's fine, that's fair enough. But it's just if anyone has been careless or anyone has been neglectful with the equipment that was given to them. I heard that particularly some of the hilts that were given to Ashen Thronecut and his men were particularly subpar, and it didn't come from usual source. I'm not quite sure where it came from, but I just thought I'd give you a heads up, lieutenant to lieutenant. It's nothing to do with you, then it's nothing to do with you. No worries. I was just trying to look out for my fellow man.
Certainly, thank you for the information. I wouldn't know too much about that. Obviously I wouldn't bother myself with such menial tasks.
Oh, of course you would.
I'm sure any mistakes made were genuine enough. And he kind of stands up at this point, leaves his food like a little bit. It's mostly empty at the table, and looks at you and just says, "Nice to put a name to the face." I'll
Oh, likewise. And do forgive me for intruding on your breakfast. Like I say, Lieutenant Hauser, I wouldn't worry. I mean, there probably isn't anything untoward with these accidents, as you say, so the investigation will turn up nothing.
I would certainly assume so.
Oh, well, sorry for bothering you again, and have a good day.
All right, to you. And he turns around.
I'd best get back to Nemea and the chicken off. And then I'm just going to get up and...
Whereas he immediately went to ignore you, the fact that you said Nemea and the chicken kind of catches his eye for a moment. He goes to ignore you and then kind of looks back a little bit like... And then just carries on to leave, like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
and
so
then
I'm
just
going to
carries on
head
to
out the tent like I'm making my way back towards mine.
Mm-hmm.
So does he Do we leave the tent together?
Pretty much. It's yeah. You're like 3 paces behind him.
All right. So as I leave the tent, oh, that illness is really making the rounds. And then I'm going to make my way back toward the tent.
He turns back to you and just goes, "Oh, yes, something's going around," and then turns and walks off more hurriedly now that he's left the tent.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going back to the tent and just looking at where I thought where I had left Vice.
Okay,
So
Vice, roll perception with advantage, Vice. 2 nat ones. Plan fails immediately.
Don't say that. Perceptions, yeah, that's
yes. Fine. Okay. So you and Livia are kind of having a bit of a back and forth about this spell that she's going to cast on you to help. She kind of vaguely says to you, like, "Give me the heads up before you cast the spell," and you kind of look back at her like, "Okay, what are you going to do?" Kind of waiting for her to elaborate, and she doesn't too much elaborate. Some time passes, and the conversation picks back up again when you're sort of like specifically what is it that you're going to do, and then as she's beginning to explain it to you, you loosely hear this cough noise in the distance.
It's like, oh, do you hear that? I guess I'm up, Livia.
Okay, before you go,
whatever.
bear with me.
Yeah.
Stand there and close your eyes.
Okay, but just be quick, whatever it is you're doing.
And then I'm gonna place both my hands on his shoulders and cast enhance ability to give him cat's grace.
Okay.
Okay.
And what does that do?
Just furiously googling what that is.
No, I know cat's grace. It gives him advantage on like
So
dex
for
stuff.
the next hour,
She's trying to give him better stealth.
Yeah, the target has advantage on dexterity checks. It also doesn't take damage from falling 20 feet or less if it isn't incapacitated.
Oh, great. So now's the time to climb a tree.
Okay. All right, sure. Thanks very much, Livia. Oh, I'm off. I'll see you later. Or maybe you won't see me.
So roll stealth with the effects of cat's grace as you make this movement, laughing loudly, like down the side of the mess hall tent. Not nearly discreet at all.
What would you want me to roll?
Roll stealth. I will say, well, with whatever the effects of cat's grace are. Did you say it gives him advantage on dex checks?
Advantage on dex checks, no damage from falling 20 feet or less.
Are you sure it's dex checks and not dex saves?
Dex checks.
Okay, cool. He's going to need them.
Oh, thank fuck. Thank fuck.
17. Okay, so you laugh loudly whilst doing the motion, and Livia, what you see before you is like the laughing noise carries on, but Vice just disappears from the top down slowly. Maybe takes like 3 or 4 seconds for him to entirely disappear, but you hear the noise the entire time.
All this time I'm laughing.
Yeah, and it's kind of
helps you. Doesn't mean you get to take the piss with it.
As he becomes fully invisible, Taryn turns the corner and just hears laughter in front of you, but sees nothing. Taryn, is there anything specifically that you wanted to do with Kristen whilst you were with him?
It was more just to sort of check out the stock. I was
Okay.
just sort of going to do that.
Yeah, same deal as always. He basically has anything in the Discerning Merchant's Guide, which I think I've sent you guys before.
Yeah, I've got the Google Drive ready. I kind of forgot that I was doing that. I was too busy enjoying everything else.
That's fine. If you want to pick something out of there, I'll tell you whether or not he has it, because he probably doesn't have like everything. He's not got like 9th level spells, for example. Not that you guys could massively afford them. It's just not something he would have. Where is it? Is it under DM? Yes, it is. Middle screen. Yeah, so if you want to look through that and let me know what you're going for, we can wrap back round to that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll just leave the PDF open for now. Vice, you do this. I would say, Taryn, roll perception for me, please.
Yes. That's the wrong button. Didn't realize it was still on card.
It's the best casting of a spell I think we've had. Yeah, please.
It's like fairy dust.
Yeah.
That's what I imagine. Like,
Yeah, that's very much the visual. So you think you catch feet in front of Livia, about 3 or 4 feet in front of Livia, just disappear, but you're not certain. You kind of knew the plan, so you put 2 and 2 together a little bit, but it's really the laughter that maybe gives it away for you, so you're not clueless as you approach the 2 of them.
I just sort of like quietly acknowledge it. I just sort of look a bit like,
Cool.
Livia, you see Taryn come over to your side easily enough. Go on, Vice.
Cool. Well, I'm. Did I get a good look at who it is I'm following?
Not a great look, no.
Okay.
But close enough that you saw somebody in front of Aresia. You caught Aresia because she was easier to pick out of the crowd for you. You know what she looks like. You know her armor. You can see a sword on her back and 2 swords on her hip. Most likely she's got 3 swords. I'm not sure where she's keeping them. So it's just swords drawn all the time. One in the mouth like that guy from One Piece or the wolf from Dark Souls.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna make my way out and walk in the direction that Arestia was going.
Okay.
And look for the person.
Yeah, so you see, roll insight for me.
I'm going back the way I came.
It's back the way you came.
Yeah.
Insight. 21.
Okay, cool. So as you head over to Aresia, she of course does not see you. And with your stealth check, you make it past the majority of the crowd easily enough. None of them seem to turn ahead. The noise of the rabble easily supersedes the noise of your footsteps and whatnot. You see Aresia, again, kind of Noah-style, part the crowd purely through her rank as she returns to roughly where you guys were. And maybe a few minutes later, Aresia, you turn the corner to see Taryn and Livia standing there. Taryn looking slightly confused and Livia looking slightly smirky as though she's just seen something funny. Vice, you managed to discern that there is several people leaving the tent, some of them still with bowl in hand, most of them not, but there is only one man that leaves the tent hurriedly. Everybody else seems to be haphazardly, sort of lackadaisically, leaving slowly, almost unwilling to return to their post. This was their break, if anything. This was the calm before their tasks for the day. However, one man, a slightly stockier fellow and slightly shorter, definitely shorter than you. He's human. He's not shorter than a dwarf or anything. He is hurriedly leaving the tent, and with your insight roll, you discern that this man is likely the man to follow. Unfortunately, at your distance, you didn't see him when the cough was heard, but this is what you're pinning your hopes on.
Okay. Does he as Aresia was, basically parts the crowds, does this guy give the same impression?
He's walking the opposite direction.
Okay.
So she comes out of the tent and moves directly east, and the eventual rabble kind of gives way to allow her pass through, and this man went directly west.
Okay. I'm just going to follow this guy who I believe to be the person. Mm-hmm.
So it takes about an hour as you follow this fellow. I would say...
Really?
Yeah, he moves through like quite a lot of the encampment. I'll put it at about 45 minutes. So he moves the distance of your tent to the mess hall in the opposite direction again. So you've got about 10 minutes left on your spell.
Okay.
10 to 15 minutes. We'll keep it loose. But you are sort of 10 to 15 minutes left on your spell as you follow this man, winding corridors. There's wider pathways that have obviously been left open to allow flow through and general footfall, but there are some side paths that eventually lead to a larger tent where he opens a door and moves on through. It's bigger. It's about the same size as your tent, But as he kind of flicks the canvas flap open to pass through into it, you can see there's only about 3 beds. Roll perception for me.
Nice.
Okay. So as it flaps open, you see about 3 beds. You see a rough area in the corner that looks to be more desk than bed. But you do not see enough gear and stuff like that in front of these beds to warrant, you assume, 3 people staying here. If anything, it looks like really only 1 person is staying here. As to who that person is, you don't know. And at this point, the canvas flap kind of closes once more. A bit of time passes. You've got about 5 minutes passes. You've got about 10 minutes left on the spell. And it becomes apparent from where he was likely facing as he made his way over to the desk area that if you were to open the canvas flap to enter this tent, it's likely that he would fully see that. However, it's not such a distance that you can't just about hear his general milling around. You hear the sliding of a drawer, and it sort of almost slam back into position, and you gather from this distance you are likely able to overhear whatever is going on inside, albeit not see it very well.
Sure.
The flaps aren't sort of like, buckled down. They're not buttoned together or anything like that. They are loose in the wind, but they rest still enough that it's only creating quite a small, jaggedy crack as you stand in front of this entrance to the tent. Give me a dex save.
I'll have advantage as well still, right? From enhanceability?
Yes, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
How long does Cat's Grace
1
last,
hour.
Livia?
1 hour.
Okay, so the same time as your invisibility spell. You've got about 10 minutes left on it. Cool. So as you are, I assume, trying to see what you can see through the cracks of this opening, somebody quite heftily, and roll me a quick history check.
Terrible at remembering things.
Okay, so somebody that you recognise to be a slightly almost samurai-esque looking man that you spoke to briefly with Livia. He just has a strong walk to him. He's a heavy set. He's not fat. He's quite muscular and has quite he has a high muscularity, but he's moving with purpose, and he almost just moves through you because obviously he can't see you. However, you manage to hear him coming and kind of almost pirouette out of his way.
Sure.
So much so that your back is on the back of the doorway to this tent, and this fellow just moves straight on by you.
He was leaving, right?
He was coming from the east and just goes further west. He wasn't coming out of this tent or going into this tent.
Okay.
It's just that he almost bashed into you as you were standing here watching. You managed to avoid him, fortunately, and you turn back around to listen once more. Taryn, Kristen does purchase items depending on the item. What items are you looking to sell?
I just would sort of rifle through my bits and bobs of all kinds of random shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd plonk 2 regular daggers on the ground looking quite sad. Realizing that I don't have much in the way of wares or money.
He looks at them and is like, they don't have too much value, but I can take them off your hands if that's what you're looking for.
Literally in monies.
Bear with me, and I will find out the cost of a dagger. Oh, God. I know it's page 150 because of a thing I made earlier. But my numlock is off? No, my numlock is on. It just
yes, I'll go to the quartermaster, and then I looked at my fucking character sheet and I was like, oh no.
He's like, well, I'll tell you what, they look well-travelled, and to some that will provide some sort of appeal. I can do you 5 gold for the 2.
For both, yeah?
Yes, for both. They're not worth 5 gold, but I can probably upsell them slightly. You've had them a while. They are sort of artifacts, that's likely the way I'll spin them.
I genuinely appreciate that, and I'll gladly hand them over. Give him a nice, good handshake.
Okay. He's quite a friendly, inviting guy, so he shakes your hand quite happily, and he's just like, if you've anything else, I certainly take a look.
Let me just... no, there's nothing really worth it. I'll just sort of be like, no, I don't.
Well,
I didn't come here with much foresight. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. Best of luck in your endeavours. I hope you come across some coin soon.
Thank you. I'll be glad to bring that coin right here.
I look forward to it. And Livia and now Taran, because that was in the past, and Aresia, you have gathered around the side of the mess hall. Is there anything you guys want to do?
Sorry, who am I with?
You are with Livia and Taran at the side of the mess hall. Vice left you about 40-50 minutes ago.
So what do we want to do, Lieutenant?
I'm just going to say to Livia more than Taran, but to both of them. Just going to say, I hope he's all right. He's been gone a while.
I'm sure he's fine.
Seems like a good cover.
Nemea, given that your time with Egatha has left the realms of mimicry and possibly become somewhat boring at this point, is there anything specific you want to attempt to do? With Egatha, without Egatha, your choice.
I think she left the room.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know what the true is in reference to, but yeah, when she comes back, ask her, and we'll find out. Vice. As you are outside the tent, a few more minutes pass by, negligible amounts, not worth kind of counting down on the spells. Bear with me. So after a while, you hear just a kind of soft voice. Roll perception for me, or investigation, your choice.
Perception.
Okay, cool. So you hear a voice say, "Yes, but they've been poking around about, so I'm coming back in. This illusion will be seen through soon anyway." Did you catch that?
I didn't really hear the last part. I hear they've been poking around.
I'm going to post it in Roll20.
Okay, thanks.
It seems to be a response to something, but you saw inside, and you saw him go inside, and nobody else was in there.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, bear with me as I'm just reading my shit. If you want to do something specific, let me know.
No, I actually want to continue listening at the moment.
Okay.
And I'm just questioning myself, really, like if there was any more people in there at the time, and I don't remember seeing more people.
You certainly don't. You rolled, I mean, you didn't roll amazingly, but you rolled high enough to know that you didn't see anyone else in there.
Okay. All right.
So, some time passes. I would say probably about 10 minutes or so. No, that's maybe a bit much given what's going to happen. I would say about 5 or 6 minutes passes. You are right on the fringe of your spell, and Cat's Grace as well, ending. You know this, as the nature of invisibility is, but it takes seconds to like quickly run around a corner to become visible again, for example.
Yeah, I'd like to put that back on, please.
Okay, so you cast it once more. You cast invisibility once more. Do you make the same boisterous laughter as the initial cast, or?
Not this time, no.
Roll stealth for me. You already have advantage, so there's no point giving it to you.
I still don't have advantage, do I?
You have advantage because you're still within the window of Cat's Grace. It's about to end, but you have it for now. Okay, so obviously whilst invisible, pretty difficult to be seen doing anything, really. You succeed, low DC, you succeed in recasting the spell and remaining invisible for a subsequent hour. And about 7 or 8 minutes later, whilst the first spell is beginning to end and you're starting to consider recasting it, you hear the same voice say again, I know, but it's been successful enough, and I don't care. I'm leaving now. And then about 5 or 6 minutes later, after hearing a mixture of like slamming drawers and the rustling of papers, roll perception for me. And also, when you recast your spell, did you stand exactly where you were, or did you like go anywhere to not be seen?
I would have just gone around the side.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, roll perception for me. Cool. So, having gone round the side, nothing hits you as you are generally trying to listen in, but you do hear the kind of like flapping of something, and given the roll, you move quickly enough back round to the front of the tent to see the kind of whip of one of the canvas entry points of this tent flick up into the air and then slowly begin to close back down. It's a relatively high roll. I'll say that you also see the kind of kick up of grass away from you, further westerly, but you see no people. And this initial visual is overtaken relatively quickly of the general footfall of those around you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can I potentially? I can't really. If I follow, I'm thinking if I should follow, but I can't really see where they're going. Really, can I?
You saw an initial kind of kick up of grass, seemingly heading west, but you see no person. And you saw the kind of flick back of the canvas tent, but it has slightly rested once more. I would say, at quick glance, it looks as though the tent is now vacant.
Okay. As in, he's not there anymore. Hauser's not there anymore.
Doesn't seem to be inside from what you saw briefly.
Interesting. Okay. I'll probably at this point maybe try and go inside.
Okay.
And see if I can. Well, let's just try and go inside first.
Yeah, no worries. So you open the canvas entrance to the tent, move it aside just slightly, trying to be discreet enough, and you confirm that certainly nobody's in there. You see before you 3 beds and some clothing, some loose gear in front of one of them, nothing in front of the other 2, and a desk where a 4th bed otherwise would be at the back of the tent. That seems to have some papers on the top and a half-open drawer. I assume you want to look at them.
I do.
Yeah. So, on one of the papers, you see information that looks like somebody kind of cataloguing their recent events. It's almost as though this guy was keeping like a loose journal. And not in many words, it sort of briefly mentions a failed mission. Relatively close to the Wandering Wood. And that's kind of it. It's like half a page at best. It looks as though he sort of started writing this and then thought better of it and just trailed off into nothingness. If it was Bastion who wrote it, you don't know.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else? Anything else I can see?
No, there's about 3 bronze on the desk itself, a couple other pieces of parchment that are blank, and an ink pot and quill.
Can I search around, the bed area where I believe he stays, where he sleeps?
Yeah. It's kind of loose leather armor, slightly damaged. It looks as though whoever was wearing this sustained some wounds. When you check on the inside of the armor, you can see that there's some dried blood, likely from quite a while ago. And the armor seemingly hasn't been like properly cleaned since then, but that's about it. And it's not really a full armor set either. It's like loose pieces.
Can I have a look under the bed?
Yeah. Nothing.
Under the pillow?
Nothing.
Okay. Right, I probably would just actually, has he got any like a bag of gear or anything like that?
Seemingly not here.
No. Okay. And that's all I can see in the room.
That's all you can see. One thing I will say is that you are familiar with the invisibility spell, and anything about the person when the spell is cast is also rendered invisible. So if he did have a bag of goods or some sort of equipment that was on his person before he cast this spell, if that is how he left, then it would be invisible. But it would also be on his person.
Yeah, it would have to be on him, right?
You'd have to have it, yeah.
Yeah, if he was to leave it,
it would be visible.
It would be visible.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So it generally looks like somebody up and left in a hurry.
Yeah. And it appears to be Hauser, based on the fact that he's no longer here. So I'm going to leave. So I feel like there's nothing more that I can do here. Okay. And I'm going to maybe head back towards where was he walking, or was this whoever this was?
He was heading west. You were west of the mess hall, and your group is slightly east of the mess hall.
Right. Okay. So I'm just going to go back then.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So to the rest of you, except Nemea, who is currently just playing fetch with a chicken. You about another like 45 minutes to an hour passes. No, it's about 50 minutes. Passes more than the initial spell cast. So it's starting to seem a bit strange. Vice has been gone for almost 2 hours at this point. Is there anything specific you guys want to do?
No, are we still by the mess hall?
Yeah, you're just to the side of the mess hall. It will be an additional sort of hour by the time Vice returns. Is there anything you want to have done during that hour?
I won't. I think I will have just been sort of waiting and just loitering.
Okay. Anything from you, Taryn or Olivia?
I think probably discussing what's happening, and like I probably would have gathered that 3 people waiting here for this guy to return. Probably not the best option. So I might just go back and head to check on Nemea.
Okay.
And then just practice some spell stuff.
Cool. Olivia?
No, I'm all good.
Cool. So, Taryn, at the same time that you hear Nemea castrating Agatha, you return to the tent. And as you walk through, you can just see like a sort of sheepish looking chicken, kind of head bowed low as though it's been told off. You enter.
Well, you look like you're having fun.
Oh, you guys are back already? Where are the others?
This is still doing stuff. Could be dead, who knows?
Oh, I really hope not.
Yeah, the others are waiting for him. We'll have to see what happens.
Okay. Do you know of any information? Has anything come to light?
Not really. Orezi had a small discussion with him inside of the mess hall. Not really sure if he was that spooked by it, but we shall see. And I'll just sort of go sit down on my bed, just lie back a bit.
Wait! Don't go to sleep. Look at this. And I just stand up on one leg while staring at Agatha, staring at her intensely.
Are we talking like Karate Kid style?
Yeah.
Roll animal handling for me.
Roll high.
Yes.
Want to see a trick?
It is not coming through.
She's figuring out how to do handling.
She's trying to.
Naturally.
Nice. So, not only does Agatha repeat the action exactly, like perfectly in time with you, but she will now do this with anyone who does this with her. It has been fully imprinted on her. She has learned this trick.
Yay!
I swear that's that 20s wasted on Agatha.
I was going to have anyone else that tried to do the same thing also have to roll in the future. But given that you've rolled a nat 20 to teach her this, if anyone does this to Agatha, Agatha responds in kind. She knows this trick. Standing the flamingo stand,
So smart.
Agatha has learned.
You have a stat block for it. Write it down.
Yeah, if you have any sort of stats for Agatha, Livia, like on that creature portion of a character sheet,
I will do some.
add flamingo stand to it. She repeats this to anyone who does it to her.
I'm gonna run over and hug Nemea and be like,
You are not there.
She's not here.
You do not know this has
I
happened.
feel it in spirit.
You are with Aresia, just as Vice returns. Entirely invisible. Vice, you turn the corner to see Livia and Aresia doing their best nonchalant impression.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna. If I'm still invisible.
Yeah, you're just within the full extent of your recast of the spell.
Sure. Well, I'm going to I'm gonna go around the corner and just dispel.
Yeah, you just happily like not reduce. Like let go of the concentration of the spell and it dissipates. You can end your own spell effects quite happily.
Yeah, sure. And I want to come around the front and be like, Lieutenant.
Oh my God! I thought something had happened to you. You're okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was a little bit longer than I expected.
What happened? You were meant to dispel after 10 minutes. With 10 minutes left to go, I was expecting you an hour.
Oh, this guy doesn't do much in his tent. He spends a lot of time doing nothing. So I had to it took quite a while already just to get to his 45 minutes or so. So I had to recast. Let's say
All right.
extend
First
the
of all,
time.
2 things I'm going to say to you. I gave you a direct order to dispel with 10 minutes to go. The second thing, orders are there and are to be taken seriously. However, if you go against them for the greater good and you come back with good results, I'll forgive it.
Well, depends on if you can. Oh God. Well, it depends on what you consider to be, results. So maybe we should.
It's really busy around here. Let's regroup with the others. What time of day is it now, Josh? It's got to be lunchtime, right?
If you regroup with the others, it's going to be about midday by the time you return to the tent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we should regroup.
We should. Apologies.
Get some food to go.
What from here?
Yeah.
I'm not really too keen on the food here, especially since people are getting sick. Like, I don't know if that's got anything to do with it. So I'd rather just.
You happy to make us lunch?
I mean, let me just check my bag, see what I've got.
Vice
in there.
like visibly takes his pack off, lays it on the ground, lifts the thing, moves the bedroll out of the way, and starts looking at the various food inside. He starts looking around at the rest of you, realizing that some of the food was distributed about the group.
Well, it looks like I've got enough to rustle up something for us. Yeah.
Josh, would there be anywhere where you could buy food stuffs for cooking on the encampment? Like, could I buy it from Tristan?
I think I bought it from Kristen.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think I bought them from Kristen before.
You would definitely buy it from Kristen as a central point, but food is relatively abundant. You're near the mess hall. You could probably purchase stores from them quite happily.
So I could buy chickens, potatoes, stuff like that.
Not live chickens, but
No, but chicken breast or
Yeah, you could buy cooked chicken happily enough from the mess hall. She would sell it to you relatively cheap, looking to make a bit of profit for herself because that's what Tanika's like. But you could, anyone that's got an okay amount of store of food, you could give them a couple coin. They'll probably give it to you. So.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Kavanagh, you've had a busy day, but if you are happy to make us something with your talents, I'll buy the provisions here and I'll follow you guys shortly.
Oh, well, I mean, that's very kind of you, Lieutenant. I mean, I do have plenty of, provisions available that probably would need to be eaten. So you can always top up the next time, or else the provisions that I have will spoil.
Okay, we'll do that then, if you're happy to do that. Do you have enough for all of us?
I do.
Okay,
Oh, gosh, I got too much. I got too much. I need to get rid of it.
Let's do that then. Let's head back. If you're happy to make us lunch, and then
Yes. I will.
just tell us what we found while we eat, and I'll be sure to top up your stores.
Wonderful.
Very good.
Can I use this cooking period to practice my
Yes, you
cooking
can.
and not give anyone buffs?
Yeah, you can. What's your current point system on the cooking? Where are you at?
I am currently at 8.
8.
I need 12.
42.
I need 12.
Yes, you do need 12. So, I think we've been mainly doing it as like a collective cooking is one practice essentially, because it takes like an hour to practice. How much ingredients are you using? Are you using enough to like feed 5 people?
I'm gonna make enough. I've got too much.
Okay. Before it spoils. So I'll say I'll tell you what, why don't you do like 5 very hearty meals to basically use up your food stores, and as a result I'll allow you to roll 3 times as a practice roll.
All right. Okay. Cool. 5. All right. So let me. It's gonna be.
I'll also say that it
I'm
takes
gonna-
an extra hour. So you guys
Okay,
are
cool.
slightly just past midday by the time Vice is done cooking all of this food. It becomes apparent as he starts cooking that he's like, "Oh, this is maybe now or never" type thing with a lot of the meat that he has upon him, on him. So over a 2-hour period, 3 practices, and you're all going to get a very hearty meal one way or another. So the DC is 14, Vice. It's a D20 plus proficiency.
Yeah.
And each roll above 14 of the 3 will be a successful practice. So that's a fail.
That's a fail.
That's a pass.
Yes.
And that's a pass. So does that put you at 10?
Puts me at 10.
10. And 12 needed to hit the next level.
Yes. 12 needed.
So close.
Okay. Cool. Guys, ready up. Food is ready.
What is it?
Smells delicious.
Well, I call it garlic chicken. Consists of garlic and chicken. And
Sounds wonderful.
Delicious.
It would need to have some sort of side. You need to make sure that you're using 5 main, 5 side, and 5 flavor ingredients.
yeah, sure. I will put. Oh well, I've got 6 potatoes left, so I just there it has side potatoes.
Yeah, 5 potatoes.
You want carrots?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I've already cooked it. I would imagine. I mean, I don't mind.
I don't care what you mark down as long as 5 mains,
Cool,
5
have
sides,
carrots,
and
go
5
on.
flavor ingredients are marked off.
Go on, you have carrots.
15
Go on.
Love
food
carrots
uses.
as well, to be fair.
Everyone hates potatoes.
I'm out of potatoes now, guys. I've got 2 potatoes. There you go. Cool. And 3 carrots. Beautiful. There you go.
Thanks, love.
You're welcome.
Delicious.
I can feel myself just becoming more experienced, like with all this cooking.
Leveling
You know,
up.
so hopefully I will.
I feel like I've gained XP.
Sure, I will. Let me just mark that off. Right. Okay. So, guys, I was at the tent, and I followed him back, and it appeared as if he was there alone because there was no one else in the tent, from what I could see. However, after a period of time, I started to hear him talking, but I couldn't see anyone he was talking to.
Himself?
He was just in the room talking.
He was talking, but he sounded as if he was talking to somebody. But there was no one there that I could see.
Hey.
I heard him say that they've been poking around, so they're obviously talking about yourself, Aresia. And he mentioned that they've been poking around, and so I'm coming back in. The illusion will be seen through soon enough, or soon anyway. Sorry. So that already is something to be quite. It's a bit suspicious. And then he also then had another conversation saying that, I knew, but it's been successful enough, but I'm leaving now, basically. So no, he said, I know, but it's been successful enough, but I'm leaving now. So again, it sounds as if he's speaking to someone.
So he was saying all that out loud.
He was saying this out loud. I didn't hear another voice that he was speaking back to him.
Livia, roll Arcana.
I want to just use the cantrip message and point towards Vice and just speak in his mind. Could be magic.
You hear this out of nowhere, but in Taryn's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Livia, you recognise that
all the world
of all of the wordings that Vice provides, Livia, none of them seem to be greater than 25 words.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's you know how when I needed to rescue Adana.
Yes.
And I sent a message to my dad and was like, Dad, go get Adana. Yeah, like.
Yes.
Maybe he was doing that because that lets someone talk back to you.
Sure.
If I talk to my dad, like I've got like a couple of sentences, but then like transmission, poof, and he gets a couple straight back. It's really great we keep in touch. But maybe that's what's happening. Maybe there's not. That's why that explains why you didn't hear any replies. Because in his head.
Sure. No, I mean that makes absolute sense.
Taryn can do it too.
You've got that ability as well, don't you? Yeah.
Message isn't.
You just said in your advice.
Message isn't the same as sending, but he has the ability to.
Oh, okay.
Towards Livia and just say, but mine doesn't have quite a large radius.
Yes, this is true.
So
there's no way we can track who would have done that spell, though, is there, Taryn?
May I interject?
Yes.
I don't understand what any of you were talking about.
He was talking to someone via magical messages in his head.
How have you deduced that?
Because by the way the Vice is described, it makes no sense. One, there's no person there and he's not hearing anyone respond. But he's obviously having a conversation. And from the way Vice has described it, it seems like he's only saying a couple of sentences at a time. And it reminds me of how I speak to my dad.
Oh.
Either that or it could just be bloody mental.
Yeah.
Like I said, you get to send a message to someone you know in your head and they get to send a reply back. And depending on how powerful you are, you could do it a few times to have some sort of broken down version of a conversation. It would explain why Vice didn't see anyone and why he didn't hear any replies.
So he said that he questioned my poking around. He said he's going back in and he says the illusion will end soon or the illusion will be seen through soon.
Yeah. So that they've been poking around. So they've been poking around. He said that, so I'm coming back in. The illusion will be seen through soon anyway. And then obviously another conversation or a response had come back from that, and then his response was, I know, but it's been successful enough. I'm leaving now. And even weirdly, so just absorb that information for a minute, but strangely afterwards, I had to recast my my invisibility. I saw, well, I didn't see, maybe, someone who I believe to be Hauser left invisible.
What?
Oh, so now there was an invisible person in the tent.
So you saw Hauser enter the tent, have this one-sided conversation.
Did you go in the tent with him?
I did not go in the tent with him because it was too much of a risk. Because from where he was still in, he would have seen the canvas open if I tried to get it.
But how did you know there was no one else in there?
Because I was able to peek through. I was able to peek through and have a look. I peeked through and I had a look around and I could see that there was no one else in there. In fact, he's actually got the whole tent to himself, Lieutenant. He's got the whole tent to himself.
Wow.
Wait, no, that's not cool.
I mean, if there's any reason for us to bring him down, it's because of that.
I mean, I want a tent.
We should check out his tent. We should go in and search it.
Well,
we might have dark magic.
So Lieutenant, you might not be happy with what I'm about to tell you, but
What?
well, after this, who I
I'm gonna
believe,
sit down and pick up Agatha.
after
As you
who I
go
believe
over
is
to her,
Hauser-
Livia. Livia, as you go over to her, she sort of goes to raise one leg in confusion, and then like you go to pick her up, and she just puts it back down again.
Oh, I'm gonna give her like a few seeds in my hand and like stroke her while I sit down to watch the show.
Carry on, Vice.
Oh gosh.
Do you like the new trick?
I look over to
So
Vice,
good.
and I'm like,
You did so
You
good.
are
I look
Vice.
over to Livia. I look over to Livia, and I'm like, do you think this is some sort of like show, entertainment? Like
Oh.
you?
No. Carry on.
Towards Vice and just say with message, yes.
Taryn, you're not making this easy for me right now.
So what did you do, Vice?
So anyway, Lieutenant, please don't be angry. I understand I'd already broken your orders
I thought, to hell with it, I'll break them all.
extending my time. But after this, who I believe was Hauser, had left, invisible, I then went into the tent. And to go in,
Hauser left invisible.
yeah, Hauser was in there. Then
I thought you meant
then-
said someone
and then-
else left invisible.
No, well, someone left who I believe to be Hauser because Hauser was the only one in there. He was having a conversation. I saw something leave because I could see, I use it all the time. You guys know, right? I'm
Just so I understand, you followed Hauser. Hauser entered the tent. He had a one-sided conversation, and an invisible being. You're sure an invisible being left the tent, and no one else was in the tent remaining.
no
Okay.
one was in the tent.
Livia, just before we continue, are you able to sense anyone other than the 5 of us and the chicken?
Interesting question.
The 5 and the chicken.
Anyone other than our party, plus Tabitha?
The 5.2.
Anyone else around?
I mean, yes.
Would any of you be able to detect that? Do so now if you can.
Well, why could you all stand, this side of the tent so we've got a big open space?
Sure. Do it quickly.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna go put my hand in my bag and take out a
Oh.
handful of seed and throw it in the sky.
Well, that's
Okay.
what I meant.
You throw
And I watch it intently to see if it hits them.
you throw this seed forwards, and a couple of things happen. Firstly, as Taran maneuvers over to the corner that you're all gathering in, you hear a quick as he half steps on Agatha accidentally. We stood up, so not really. As you then use your hand to throw seed and presumably not hold on to the chicken anymore, this happens. You throw it out, and the second thing that happens is that Agatha goes fucking mental and launches herself towards the thrown seed. It's like Christmas in Chicken Land for Agatha. She launches forwards, partly because Taran stepped on her and partly because she sees the seed. It's an airborne buffet. As Agatha awkwardly tries to jump up and grab the seed that's falling and then begins to quickly eat it off the ground as much as she can, you don't seem to discern any sort of imprint of seed falling on anything adverse to the natural state of things. There's seed in somebody's bed. A kind of Taran and Emmaus from this angle in my mind.
We'll put Agatha on them and get to pluck up all the seed like a Hoover. It's fine.
That wasn't what I meant.
Sergeant, I have deduced that there is no one else in this tent.
I mean, Lieutenant, but fine. We'll stick with Aurelia. Right, well, I mean, if they were in this tent, the chicken would have frightened them off. So I think it's fine.
Sure. So, just off the back of your
I'm gonna
comment,
go over, pick up Agatha, and put her on Taran's bed first.
Okay, she starts eating the seed and then looks up at Taran and then just starts pecking holes in the bed a little bit.
Oh, and then I'll quickly go grab her Hoover and put her on the mayor's to
I
put
raise
her up the
up
next
my
bed.
hands as if to go and shock him.
Hey!
She starts eating seed off Nebea's bed quite happily. Pinpoint
I stroke
accuracy.
her.
So, in response to what you were saying, Livia, I mean, off the back of what you've just done, I went into the tent and had a little poke around, and I found nothing of any use. I did find a journal, which I thought was a journal, but he mentions barely anything in there. Starts writing about a mission failure, but doesn't continue with anything. So I found it of no use. It was basically just a loose journal.
There could have been
Nothing that
code.
could really help.
What if he writes in code? Like, oh, a wolf came, and a wolf is someone.
Well, yeah. Well, that opportunity's lost now. I didn't take it because I didn't want to. I didn't want to draw. I didn't want to draw attention.
Incriminate yourself.
Tell me there. It did what? It said about the mission failing.
It just said, it mentions a failed mission, but didn't go into any detail at all.
Yeah.
If anything, he stopped writing at this point.
I mean,
I wonder where he went. Did you follow him? He's invisible.
No, because he was invisible. I don't know where he's going. I knew he was going. He was heading west. That's the most I know. At that point, I thought, let me take up the opportunity to go inside and have a look.
You've done well, Vice. Well done.
You sexy bastard.
No spanking today.
No, none today.
An unusual case here.
Now
I don't know
should
what's
we go
happening with
tell Birdie?
Hauser. Say that again, sorry?
Now we go tell Birdie, woman, whatever. it is.
Ferdy.
Tell her what? What would you like to tell her?
That we overheard him having a conversation in his brain saying whatever it was that he did. You don't think that sounds suspicious at all?
He's
I
very
do.
guilty.
I do.
So guilty. The
But
guilty
what
is not the
concrete
guilty.
evidence do we have that's hearsay?
It's not hearsay. We listened to it.
It's hearsay.
If I heard you say I shot a guy, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's hearsay.
It would be
Livia,
one thing.
If I may,
I say this respectfully. It would be one thing if I was the one saying that I heard the report. But remember, you guys, while I'm quite fond of you all,
She asked us to do it. If she doesn't trust what we're going to say, then we just give up now.
you have nothing concrete. She presents him.
He spoke
she
to
confronts
himself.
him and what? Farron, you were going to say something.
I was going to say, with all due respect, we are criminals in their eyes.
Speak for yourself. I am not a criminal.
You are
I
in
don't believe
prison,
any
though,
of you
correct?
are.
So,
Truthfully, I don't believe any of you are. However, that is how you are viewed
Oh, I'm
here.
done with this conversation. You're being idiots. I'll go walk out.
Okay. Livia leaves. I will return to that momentarily.
Does
Did she take the
I'd
chicken
like
with
her?
her?
No, she did not.
I trust the mayor.
Kill the chicken while you're out.
And I slapped Taran behind his head. Yeah.
You want to try?
It's like, dude.
Roll to attack.
Roll to attack?
Yeah.
Gladly avoid that shit.
You are not proficient in unarmed attacks to the best of my knowledge, so it's a d20 plus strength. You miss. So you go to kind of clock him on the back of the head, not like an attack, but just a sort of like, come on, man, leave the chicken alone type thing. But Taran kind of sees you make this maneuver and like just slightly bobs out of the way. The message is sent nonetheless, but contact is not made.
I'll just sort of giggle a bit, look behind, and just sort of pat him on the arm. Just good try, good try.
Vice, you are probably closer to Livia than the rest of us. Does she normally behave in such a way?
I mean, no. I mean, but Livia, for the time that I've known her, she's always been very, straight with how she feels, and up until this point, me and the mayor, you can speak up as well. We've always treated Livia when we traveled together as our leader, regardless of if she took it or not. And she's not steered us wrong up until now, despite the fact that we were in prison. That wasn't her fault.
She's always been a strong focal point of our
absolutely.
Of our group.
Well, I
If I was
recognise
gonna say,
that stance with you. If you were
Say that
going to
again,
say.
sorry. No, sorry,
what
again.
Were you gonna say? What were you going to say?
Fuck's sake.
Oh gosh, I was going to say no. I said if I was going to say anything, I said
Just shut up and kiss
if I was going to say anything, you know, I feel as though we've got more information, and I do feel the same way that Livia, feels. Although I understand that it's all accusations and whatever, and it's not solid information. It's something that we can go back to, at least give a mid-mission report.
Okay. What about you, Taryn and the mayor? Do you feel the same way?
Well, I say that, given that there is information Ferdy could likely use and get some knowledge about it, my query is, what's in the west of the camp? Is there anything interesting there?
Would I know that?
To the best of your knowledge, Aresia, the west of the camp simply houses other functions of the Starver military. If you were to take the haste at which this upkick of grass was made with, combined with your knowledge of the camp, and the distance that Weiss travelled before he reached Bastionhauser's tent, you would assume that one travelling west from that location at such speed is likely going to reach the forest's edge in quite a quick spacing. Collectively, I would say that it's easy enough without any sort of rolls to deduce that this person has moved beyond the forest.
Interesting. Okay, so I'd relay that to Taryn. As I say that, I'll probably just be kind of absorbing what I'm saying more and more as I'm saying it out loud. Like I find that equally suspicious.
Worth a couple of us going and investigating that while the report
gets... let's not do anything rash just yet. Nemea, I've heard from Vice. Livia's made her point clear, and Taryn has given his 2 cents. What say you? What's your view?
I'm happy to go along with, what everyone else is doing. If going back to Ferdy is probably a good option.
Okay, well, all right. Let's gather the intel we have and let's report to Ferdy discreetly. However, don't think that we are done with this mission, because I'm certainly not having a lieutenant like that behaving in such a way sully my good name or my position.
Absolutely not. We'll definitely sort this out.
Okay. So I suppose we should probably try and track down Livia and head over as a group to Ferdy.
As you are collectively having this conversation, Livia, in the location that you find yourself, having maneuvered there and whispered it for me for the chat to see and the playback of this VOD that will one day be on YouTube, you spent some time... Say that again, sorry?
I don't see anything. I didn't see her say anything.
No, it's whispers. You can't see the yellow text.
Oh, sorry, you said... sorry, I misunderstood what you said.
It's all good.
Sorry.
You spent some time sitting down, contemplating, trying to commune with who you are attempting to commune with. And after a while... after a while, as nothing seems to, enter your mind, you sort of let the moment go and accept it for the kind of serene time that you wanted it to be, to just sort of relax and remove yourself from the group.
Yeah, it was more about, internally, addressing it and venting outwardly, not necessarily about getting something back.
You weren't looking for a cohesive response, but at the same time...
I wanted to, have that connection, but even if it is just one way.
You feel as though the connection's there. It is certainly one way. However, as you open your eyes, Misha stands before you. You seated on the ground, her basically just standing full in front of you. She's about 5, 6, 7 feet away. And she's looking down at you, big ass sword on her back, just like... What are you doing?
Having a moment. Is that all right in this place?
We've all got moments. Free country, I suppose.
Good to hear. What are you doing?
I don't know. Got a bit of time. Why? You want to go a few rounds?
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
Oh, pretty serious. Yeah, why?
Sure. But don't expect anything special. I'm sure I'm not as qualified as you, but if it's some time you want, then sure. Happy to oblige.
Sounds good. She takes her sword off, like lifts it but doesn't like bring it all the way around, kind of holds it face down and then brings both hands around and just drops it, and it like goes into the ground about a foot, maybe a little bit less, and just like stands just short of her height, slightly buried in the ground. And then she reaches out a hand to help you up.
I'll take it and get up.
She kind of like repositions some of her armor, stretches out a little bit, and then points at you and just goes, "You go first."
I feel like she's not using a weapon, or have I misunderstood something?
She doesn't seem to be trying to cut you open, no, with a giant fuck off height of you sword.
Well, she just wants an outright fist fight.
Seemingly.
Fight.
Would you not reserve something with your weapon?
Oh, I can't guarantee that you don't come out of here with some proper wounds if I pick up that thing.
I mean, if I just... Okay, fine. Whatever.
She's kind of got the hand on the hilt and she reaches over to it and she's like, "Hey, if you want to go for real, we can do this."
I mean, I don't want you to kill me. Like, you don't need to be so excited.
I don't tend to use this thing for sparring. It's pretty fucking serious. And she like motions at the size of this sword. She's like, "This is... When you start swinging this thing, it doesn't tend to stop mid-flow. Give it a whirl." And she like takes a few steps back.
I'll be like, okay. I'll be like, yeah, sure. Why not? Neither does this. And then I'm going to get mine out and twist it and then press the button so that both of it activates.
It's not so much a button, but it's like
Well, you know what I mean.
You activate it.
And then pass it to her. I say, want to go with this?
That is fucking fancy.
I know, right?
I'm also not sure she could use it. So you hand it to her. As soon as it leaves your hand, it turns off. And you hand her this double-sided, because the hilts are on both sides, like the hand guard rather, it's one hilt. The hand guards are on both sides. You turn it on and these large purple, almost, it's very much like Kylo Ren's lightsaber, in that the bladed part of the lightsaber is unstable and kind of like, not flickering on and off, but like flickering and has like a... it's like pulsating with an edge of uncertainty to it. And she almost looks apprehensive for a moment, and then you see like the excitement on her eyes. And as you pass it to her, she takes it from you. It turns off as it leaves your hand, and she holds it. And like in the first Spider-Man film, where he's trying to learn what hand movement makes the web go, she's kind of like holding it, and she's just sort of like
web. Oh.
Like it doesn't turn on, and she's just looking at it like, and she looks back at you like, "There's a trick to this, isn't there?"
Is it something I can teach her, like explain to her?
You're attuned to it, and that's the factor.
Oh right, okay then. Maybe if we had some more time, I'd be able to show you. But yeah, I thought that might happen, and then I'll take it back, not like in a forcefully way.
No, yeah,
like,
she hands it back to you happily enough, and she's like, "I prefer a more simple instrument."
Sturdier.
And she like motions for you to give the sword a go.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pick it up, but I'll try.
Roll strength. Flat strength.
Just fly with the sword.
Say that again. Livia, say that again.
Oh, can I cast guidance on myself?
No, this isn't that kind of take 6 seconds time.
That is not the right thing. That is. Oof.
So you go over to it. I'm gonna roll for her. You go over to it and you put one hand on it and you start trying to pull it out of the ground and it doesn't move at all. Take a second, you put the second hand round the hilt and you start trying to lift it out of the ground. It doesn't move at all. And as you're doing this, there's like a bead of sweat that like runs down your brow and a second one shortly afterwards, and she looks at you fully recognizing that whilst you stand there heavily armored and by no means a weak lady, she kind of recognizes you perhaps don't have the strength to wield such a weapon. And she goes over to it and she puts one hand on it as you like let loose and bring your hands away. Very villainous style chair twirl there, Vice. She puts one hand on the blade and just lifts it slowly out of the ground. And as she does, she looks at you and just goes, "It's not for everyone." And then she kind of maneuvers it around back onto her back. And she looks up at the sky and kind of picks up a little bit on the time. Slaps you on the side of the arm, kind of catching your shoulder a little bit. And she just goes, "Hey. Another time." She walks off.
Sounds good. I will think to myself that was strange, slightly satisfying.
Sorry, are we here? Did we witness that? Sorry.
No, that entirely happened. I tell you what. Let's check passive perceptions. Aresia, you heard some sort of sword play-ish behind the tent.
Okay. Are you still in the tent?
You're sort of leaving it as this sound
now.
dissipates.
Okay.
Because you did say you were going to go look for Livia.
We did. I just wanted to see whereabouts we were. Okay. So, are you just behind the tent then, Livia?
Without much trouble, you come round the corner. You see her sort of standing there, slightly uncertain, but somehow satisfied. You don't really catch Misha.
To leave it?
Not at this angle, no. She leaves in the other direction. She heads north and then west.
One sec. Sorry.
No worries. But you all regroup easily enough.
You seem somewhat calmer than a few moments ago. Livia?
Do I?
Hmm.
Well, sometimes sometimes you just need a moment to yourself, I guess.
So we've been discussing, and while I'm not necessarily in full agreement, this is a group mission, not just mine, and I'm happy to concede and deliver to Ferdy all the intel we've gathered so far.
Could you not come up with another plan then?
No need to be sassy, my dear.
Oh,
I love it fully came across that way, but I knew when she was saying it that she didn't mean it that way.
Oh, did it? Oh, genuinely, it was genuine.
I'm just in the background now. We were just like, oh gosh. Yeah.
No, she didn't.
It was a genuine question, I'll have you know, but if you want to assume that I'm sassy, so be it. And I'll start walking onwards.
Livia, please come back.
Taurus.
No, I'm on my period! I don't want to talk!
The mayor, I mean, maybe this is one for you.
Livia?
What?
Come with me. I just want to take a little bit along the way.
Okay.
And you guys there.
Oh, are we walking or are they just walked off?
Stay put. I just quick word with
So Taryn, Vice, and the mayor, you find yourselves, the three of you, behind your tent,
Playing fetch.
watching. Go on.
Can I go with Aresia?
Yeah,
and Livia?
you follow
I feel
them
like
near
this is-
enough by. It's
And,
girl
and I
talk
make
time.
sure Taryn and Vice stay. I'm like,
Stay.
Is she,
Yes,
is
ma'am.
she
Yes, ma'am.
secretly following us, or is she blatantly following
No,
us?
she's blatantly following you.
Okay.
I'll just sort of look over towards Vice, just sort of be like, what do we do now?
Well, Taryn, I mean, I put my arm around your shoulder. I'm like, have you heard of a great game called
Solitaire.
Solitaire. I was like, have you heard of this great 2-player game called Solitaire? Come, let me show you. And then that's it. It cuts off, and then it goes back to you guys.
Okay,
So,
we're better.
the three of you, collectively, Aresia, you recognize that the mayor's following you, but with a kind of like awkward trepidation of like she wants to be involved a little bit.
No, Maya, that's fine. You can come here too.
Oh, thank you.
Olivia, I haven't known you very long, but I've known you long enough to get an idea of your character. And we've had a conversation before where I've explained to you how I think you would be a good addition to us, and I think you have the right mindset. You seem a little bit out of character today. You seem a little bit agitated, and I just want to know if anything is bothering you.
Well, quite a few things actually, but it's not worth going into all of them. I'm just fed up.
Of what? What's wrong?
What are you fed up
of being treated like a criminal left, right, and centre. I get
By
why
who?
everyone thinks it, and I completely understand it, but I'm just fed up. I am a good person. I have been a good person all my life. I do nothing but help other people. I look after people all the time.
Oh, dear.
And yet I get nothing back.
Nemea,
And I find myself in the middle of a poxy army trying to find out if some sergeant or something is a bit odd, and I just don't care.
Nemea, there's an element of human privilege showing itself here as Livia announces the trials and tribulations of somebody being recognized as a criminal, as somebody who is recognized as a criminal and generally spat at by some of the people that you come across. The racism that you have experienced far outweighs what Livia is currently describing.
Oof.
I say anything.
Everything I say today.
I'm not twisting what you're saying, I'm just saying how it comes across to
anything
Nemea.
without like offending people.
Can you say anything, or is that a...
I'm just telling her what she would be aware of. Whether or not she
No,
wants to speak is up to her.
No, if anything, it would make me feel sympathetic for her. I would understand exactly how Olivia feels, that she just endlessly is getting told that she's just a criminal and like she's just no good and she's a shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's trash.
Olivia.
And she's feeling that right now.
Listen to me. Amaya, you can heed what I'm about to say to you too. I understand where you are coming from. I do. For what it's worth, and it may not be worth much to you, I believe what you told me. I believe the story of how you came to be in the army. I don't believe you're criminals. I think deep down you're good people. And I'm actually very fond of all of you. Charlotte included. Whatever the chicken's name is, I don't know. I know that you have a hard rap here. I know you do. Believe it or not, I am well respected here. I haven't always been that way. And Sergeant Astros probably could empathize with you as well. I do understand how you're feeling. But
do you though? And I mean you no offense. I really like you, and I'm really grateful that you trust me to a degree and that you believe me, but do you? Do you understand what it's like for everyone to not believe a thing you say when all you do is you feel like you try to help other people?
Not everyone, I believe you. And I will do what I can to help you clear your name. And Taryn, and Vice, and the Mayor, all of you. I will do what I can, but these things take time. And you will need to, unfortunately, play the game a little bit. And I know it will be hard. I know you didn't sign up for this, but the alternative, well, there wasn't really an alternative, was it?
That's what frustrates me. It was different before. I met these guys and they came to be almost like a second family to me. I care about Vice and the Mayor and even Taryn to a degree. And we went on this strange quest to go and find Vice's wife and try and save her. And this horrible, terrible thing happened. And now I'm thrown into a situation where I just don't even want to... It's just so far removed from what I feel like my past should be. And I just... It's tedious sometimes, that's all.
My 9-year-old self would agree with you. However, here we are. So what can we do to make this better now?
Oh, we'll just go.
Realistically.
Just do whatever you want. I don't mind. If you can come up with a better plan, we don't have to go speak to Ferdy. I'm just saying, if we can't think of anything else.
I want my squad to be united.
I wasn't trying to be insulting. If you can think of a better plan, then I'll agree it's a better plan if I think it's a better plan.
Livia,
I'll always be honest.
Livia, I respect you. I'm not attacking you.
I know, I'm just telling
you.
You.
Report to Ferdy. I'm happy to go report to Ferdy. It's probably wise. My pride gets in the way and I don't like to leave things half done, but with this being an unusual case and potentially something, happening within the army rather than outside of it, you're right. I concede, you're right. Your wisdom exceeds mine on this one. And I will stand down and I will step back and see it for the greater good. Oh, karma is quite funny. There once was a young private that I knew who was quite similar to you. Wore her heart on her sleeve and sometimes went against her superiors. And she thought better than them. And it's interesting being on the other side now. Let's go to Ferdy. Let's give her our findings and let's wait for further instruction.
Sounds good.
And then maybe we should get you a drink after, Livia.
Oh my god, please.
I think we all need a break after this.
I think you all deserve one. You've done a tremendous job looking after that chicken today, Mayor, I must say.
Oh, thank you.
True. You and her have such a wonderful relationship.
You have done a great job. That's certainly not something I expected anyone to be doing, but you've done a fantastic job teaching that little bird in line. And Vice has worked hard, and I guess I think we all deserve a drink today. However, ladies, can we just agree? We cut Harvest off early. We can't have that again.
Yes, I think that's wise. It was quite the disaster last time, and I'm not prepared. I'm sorry, but this goes for all of you. I'm not prepared to use what abilities I do have to cure drunkenness.
No, I agree with you. Let him wallow.
Yeah, wallowing.
He's one of the oldest. He's older than everybody here, right?
He's a sweet guy, but
he is rather foolish.
He's nothing like Lael. Well, rolled companions.
I'm gonna put my friend of yours. He was an old companion of ours that we sadly lost.
Oh, I am sorry.
Fucking dead.
Sadly. As the three of you have this conversation and turn back to the other two. Sevi just needs to restart her headset because it's busted. As the three of you turn back to the other two, you see Taran recognize that he has essentially put a king on top of another king. And he quickly slams this second king down and shouts solitaire, as though this is how it's played. And Vice looks at him like, no, that's not how it works.
I'll be like, no, I swear I did it right the first time. The first time it worked, I swear.
Ladies, do you see what I mean?
And Vice begins to gather up the cards as the three of you come back over.
Oh, you play solitaire, Vice!
I mean, I'm trying. I'm trying to show Taran how to play, and he's doing all these impossible moves that, really.
That is what he told me to do.
Guys, put your cards away. We still have work to do. We'll relax.
All right.
Later this evening.
I'm gonna, I will go whisper to Vice. I'm like, he's cheating, Sean.
No, let's talk about it later.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. So, Livia.
Yes.
I will present the group to Ferdy. However, I would like you.
Cut off
I
at the
wasn't
end.
there for any of it.
No, but we've relayed it to you.
That's a terrible decision. Why wouldn't Vice report what he heard? Why would I report what Vice heard?
I can report it, but we have all kinds of information, don't we? We can explain everything that we've done.
I mean,
This is terrible.
if I may intervene, Lieutenant, I think obviously being the superior officer in comparison to the rest of us, maybe maybe I'm not telling you how to do your job. I may make that very clear, Lieutenant. I'm just saying that
I do think
maybe
he would
you
believe
reporting
you and
forward
respect you more
to
than
Major Ferdy would probably be a better approach. And if she wishes to, ask us for our own testimonies or whatever, then sure, we'll step in. But
all of you, I appreciate what you're saying. Let's go see Ferdy. All of you will have something to input. As I say, I will introduce you and I will set you up, but I would like you all to make yourselves known. This is a good opportunity for you to be known for the right reason.
Yes, Taryn?
Yes, due respect. I never found anything out. And to be fair, if there's not reason to hear anything from me, could always look into the issue of what's in the West.
No. We don't do any of that on our own. If anything happens to you, it affects us all. You come with us as a unit and we wait for further instructions.
Just about my home.
You have nothing to say, you can just
look pretty.
You can just look official and nod. Nod. Whenever they say anything you agree with, nod. In agreement.
Anything.
Don't mention how drunk you were last night, please. And don't mention how you started a fight with an elf. In fact, don't mention anything. Be quiet. You can be quiet.
It wasn't an elf. It was a dwarf.
What I say, elf, dwarf.
She wasn't there to be fair.
Meldar. I know his name, Meldar. I know who he is.
They should stick with the elf.
Now let's take Barry the chicken and go.
Come on, Barry.
So
let's actually, no, you won't be all right. I'll take the mayor. You take the chicken. You're the best acquainted with it.
Oh, sure thing.
What was the point of us buying the cage?
Well, we can leave the chicken in the cage if you think it's wise to. I'd just be worried that, with all the effort that's gone to it to get her, I don't want anyone coming in and poaching her.
Okay, whatever.
The chicken is part of the squad. She comes with us.
I never thought I'd hear you say that, Lieutenant. I
spent some time with her last night, and I have to say I've grown quite fond of good old Isabella. So we
Jesus
comes with.
I just look on watery-eyed. Oh, I'm so proud.
Collectively, the 5.2 of you go about the camp. You come across a familiar dwarven fellow to Taryn and Nemea, and he points you in the way roughly of where he last heard Ferdy was. And over some time, you manage to find Ferdy, the major, in the Starving military. And as you approach her, she turns and sees the group of you, presumably Nemea at the back with the chicken. And she looks on at the group of you and says, in her voice, where the fuck is Ferdy? There we go. Very good. I'm glad you finally arrived. It's been quite some time. I expected you sooner.
Apologies, Major. We had a changeover where Astros and I obviously
Yes,
roles.
I understand Somniatel has been called away to write some sort of training manual for the newer recruits, mages and the sort that need to understand process before they apply their magics.
I apologise for the delay. We did want to make sure that we had sufficient information to provide you before returning.
Well, at this time of day, I assume your mission is complete, is it not?
The mission being to discover...
And she leans into you a little bit, and she just goes, Lieutenant, I understand that there was a changeover involved. Your mission was quite simply to investigate these goings-on with the Serenity Squad. So they call themselves, and she stands back up away from you.
Mm-hmm.
What information have you?
Well,
she was much friendlier last time.
I can't even remember what happened last session. Jesus. I'm trying to remember what happened.
He said that he got...
So, Ashen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. So, page up. I have been speaking with a number of the squad, and my troops here have also done their line of investigating as well. It seems that Ashen Throne
Glad to hear that you have utilized them well.
Absolutely. They're a very talented group, and they've been an absolute integral part to this investigation and previous mission as well.
It's good to hear, if not surprising, but good nonetheless.
Ashen Throne Cut seems to be accepting a number of missions with no real thought. He just seems to be accepting anything that comes his way. In particular, he has accepted a few missions from Lieutenant Bastian Hauser.
Somewhat a fool of a man, this Ashen. My understanding is that he is accepting anything that comes his way, as you described, though not unordinary from somebody who has earned their rank somewhat quickly. You say the majority of his tasks have come from Hauser.
Some of his missions have come from Hauser. However, when I spoke to Hauser briefly this morning, he initially denied giving any missions, and then when he realised the line of conversation was heading in a certain way, he changed his tune. He did leave rather hurriedly, because it seems like the missions that have gone awry, when I described them, seemed to, well, he denied any involvement with them. They did seem to register with him, and he did leave in a hurry. My
somewhat a clump of a man. My understanding would be that you are familiar with his recent endeavours in the tasks that he's been set.
Would I be? Hang on, out game. Would I be?
Not massively.
No. Okay.
No.
Regretfully, Major, I am not.
Ah, well. Let me enlighten you, Lieutenant. Bastian most recently, or on his most recent endeavour outside of the encampment and our holding within the military, before we entered the wood, was amidst a group that saw an entire capture of their men, by wood elves nonetheless. My understanding is that none of the rest of his squad returned, only himself. He was able to garner some sort of trade, which I believe he then left with them and escaped instead, having led them down some line of understanding. An unfortunate turn of events that the rest of his squad was seemingly sacrificed, but we do appreciate a lieutenant returning nonetheless from the field. At the sacrifice of a number of privates is unfortunate. To be honest, I have kept...
He sacrificed his entire squad to save his own skin.
Livia, one moment. The Major finished.
She kind of looks at you, Livia, and addresses you like she did before. A sort of... When it was you guys with the sergeant, she was kind of addressing you all equally. But now that Aresia's here, it does seem that she is speaking to Aresia a little bit more directly, and not so much referencing the rest of you. As you silence Livia, Aresia, there's a moment of... Like, there's an expression on Ferdy's face as she recognizes your authority and the ability to command your squad well. And she almost smiles at you as you're able to command their silence quite quickly, quite abruptly. She turns to Livia and she says, well, my dear, he was sent out with his squad to achieve some sort of task. I'm not privy to the exact specifics of this mission. It was quite a while ago. My understanding is they came across some issue with a number of wood elves and were all captured. And through some sort of ruse, Bastian was able to escape. It seems the rest of his squad was not so fortunate. It's unfortunate, as I described, but the return of one of our lieutenants is certainly seen as a success. Though at the loss of a number of privates, it was costly. A failed mission for sure. But the fact that he returned at all remained a success.
Major, if I may, that makes the second part to my report a little bit more intriguing.
I see. Do go on.
After I spoke to Lieutenant Hauser this morning, he did hurry off, and I had instructed my comrade, Vice Kavanagh, to pursue him. Vice has a remarkable ability where he can maintain invisibility for a period of time. I instructed him to do so and to trail Lieutenant Hauser. I know that's unorthodox, but those were my orders.
Not at all. As I described to your squadron when Asteros was present, this was a task of somewhat secrecy, and certainly these sort of tactics are well employed. And she looks over at you, Vice, and kind of gives you a nod of like, well done. She's sort of like, she turns back to you, Arrested, and just goes, mid-level magics, to be sure, but quite the well-put application, as it were.
Well, yes. However, his success was also ensured by my comrade Livia Lightwood here, who did support him and gave him supportive magic just before leaving, as she had told me when I regrouped with her.
Hearing this, she sort of looks over the group in general. She sees Vice sort of standing there, relatively unimposing, slightly relaxed, but holding his place. Livia, somewhat caught off guard by the mention of her name, but otherwise standing firm. Nemea haphazardly holding a chicken, and you see you brought the chicken, didn't you? Nemea has the chicken.
I guess I asked her to bring the chicken.
She kind of looks over her with a moment of confusion. She sees Taran like flicking a copper coin in his hand and catching it once more, and she looks over the entirety of the group and returns to you, Arestia, and says, "Yes, quite a capable group, it seems. Though their origins are somewhat nefarious."
Yes. I think it's worth pointing out, Arestia, that the only way the three of us were unable to carry out this plan, and the previous plan was while Taran and Nemea were busy distracting the Serenity squad and gaining some friendship with them to see if they could elude any further details. I do still feel like it's been a full team effort.
Well noted, Livia. Major, this was absolutely a team effort, as Livia says.
Very good.
Now,
I assume the sergeant is involved in this team effort?
Well, I'll have to defer to all of them. I would assume so. He does work very hard, doesn't he?
Come now, Lieutenant.
Yes,
He's quite the accomplished fellow.
Forgive me. I forget my place. However, the report.
Yes, Vice's conversation.
Yes. Would you please relay to Major first what you learned in your pursuit of Hauser?
Yes, Lieutenant. Major, I overheard the conversation with Hauser. It didn't appear as if there was anyone else in his tent at the time. It seemed to be a one-way conversation.
His tent?
Well, the tent that he was stationed at.
I see. Do continue.
Yeah. I overheard the voice, and he was speaking out, saying that they've been poking around, so I'm coming back in. Not sure what he meant by that. And he also mentioned that the illusion will be seen through soon enough, or soon anyway. Again, I didn't hear anyone at the time respond to him. And then he then spoke again shortly afterwards, saying that I know, but it's been successful enough, but I'm leaving now. And again, not sure what he meant by these statements, but clearly there was some conversation taking place with himself and someone else, but that other person was not present at the time.
I see. Certainly some sort of collusion with an outer party. I assume you quickly apprehended him.
Well, actually, see, I know I didn't. Is the short answer, Major?
No?
No,
He's not in
because...
Continue.
your care at the moment?
Major.
So, no, he's not, because unfortunately, I wasn't able to see him. At some point, he had left the tent, believed to be invisible. He had the same ability as I did, or as I do. I wasn't able. Unfortunately, I couldn't see him.
Narrow somewhat, as it sounds like you are describing how you failed. She's somewhat confused.
Major.
She turns to Arestia.
May I ask? You are very familiar with a lot of the talents of your subordinates. Are you to the knowledge that Lieutenant Hauser has abilities to turn invisible or to commune with others? I wasn't aware he could do that.
No, quite strange indeed. It perhaps belies his guilt even further. We have those throughout the encampment that are available to provide access to such magics if one is so inclined and has the coin. But outside of simply confirming that Kristen has sold him some sort of scroll, it doesn't seem that that is particularly relevant to the fact that he has escaped one way or another, of his own ability or of that provided. Are you to confirm, then, that the culmination of your investigation into this squad that recognize themselves as Serenity Squad is that Bastian Hauser, a once-known lieutenant of the Stalvan army, is at fault in, if I understand correctly, all instances of foul play, and has since escaped your capture, and I assume is no longer about our encampment here, if he was to escape? Perhaps some sort of pursuit has taken place?
Major, my suspicion is that Bastian Hauser is not Bastian Hauser. Just a suspicion. However, I don't understand why a lieutenant would, with all that we work for, would return from the woods after such a capture and not attempt to go retrieve his men if they were safe. Likewise, I find it unusual that would speak in the manner that Vice Kavanagh has described. And
my understanding was that his men were, or rather did perish in the events that resulted in his return to the military. It seems that we have one of two situations here. Either, as you say, Lieutenant Bastian Hauser is not the man we thought he was, and perhaps was allied with those that once saw his capture, or another takes his place, as you suggest, through these magics that it seems have been referenced. The only remaining point here is his current whereabouts, and it seems that in that case, this group has failed. Do I understand this correctly?
We do not have a spell in our repertoire that is able to locate an invisible man, no.
Perhaps
Major, I request that our group go in pursuit of the captors and Bastian Hauser to find out more information regarding this. I feel that any information we have, bar speaking to Kristen, will lie outside of the encampment.
I appreciate the request, Lieutenant. However, recent events have forced my hand. I had wished for better news in this endeavor, though I admit you did not have an incredible amount of time to resolve this issue. And, Lieutenant, to your credit, you were not involved from the beginning. I'm afraid this is a failure nonetheless. I'm not sure if you are familiar, but it's...
I'm sorry, but we weren't certain.
She looks at you angrily as you interrupt her. Carry on.
Livia, I hold a hand up to Livia.
No, I don't mean to be
Livia,
rude.
please.
I know I don't mean to be rude.
Carry
but how
on,
are we
girl,
meant
it
to
is
know?
fine.
How are we meant to know that Vice on his own, invisible, should have tried to pursue an invisible man with no knowledge of his past or his history and capture him, and we wouldn't get in trouble for that? Everyone in this encampment sees us
Livia
as criminals, and we
point.
can't chase down another lieutenant through the middle of the camp. We thought it would be best to come and get advice from you on what you thought the best action would be.
My dear girl,
rather than jumping the gun.
please cease your ramblings. I appreciate your frustration. And Lieutenant, I appreciate your attempt at some sort of decorum. As the only group available to pursue this line of inquiry, you were entrusted to reach its root. If you had become in possession of the information that Lieutenant Bastian Hauser was at this point, was perhaps the one at fault, I would have hoped that somebody had been sought to apprehend his capture. Were you not able of it yourself? It seems that in pursuing him, he has been tipped off, as per the description from Master Curver here. It is unfortunate that you sought to apprehend him yourself, only because you have failed. Were you to succeed in such an endeavor, you would have my respect. And I will say that this is a brave approach to such a task. I recognize your attempt. It sounds as though he has now fled, and of course, I will put men in position to ensure that he is either captured or that his return is not assured outside of his capture. As I mentioned, my hand at this point has been forced. We have run out of time on a recent development with a task that you were previously offered, which unfortunately has developed to a point that your group, and she looks over you once more, again kind of questioning the chicken.
Why are you so judgy about chickens, man?
It's just not normal to, like, be carrying one around like a puppy, especially in the middle of, like, a encampment, in the middle of a war, in the military. It's just weird.
So excited. I have no
There you
regrets
go, and everyone
about
stares
the
at us anyway. Might as well hold a chicken.
chicken. I have no regrets about the chicken being here.
As she mentions,
She is part of the team.
I want to just stop flipping the coin and just sort of piques my interest a bit more.
She recognizes that you're paying attention a little bit more and, like, you know, smiles just slightly. That she's glad she has the attention of the group, and she says, "It is a disappointment, but it suffices that this fellow, whether it is Hauser or somebody who seeks to replace him, is no longer amidst the military. If that is the case," and she looks back at Vice, trying to confirm that that's his general assessment.
Well, it appears that way based on the information, but he was heading west in the camp.
You believe he has fled, do you not?
Well, I mean, he made it sound as if he was going to be leaving, yes, at that point.
Ah,
You okay?
You did?
Having failed, I'm afraid you will have to take a separate mission in this one's stead. I understand how much work has been put in. I also understand that the task that I must assign to you now is one that a number of our repertoire has requested not to take. I have a simple offer, somewhat of an order. I will provide you all 10 platinum now, and a further 10 upon completion. I'm sorry, successful completion of this further task. You must understand that it is not standard to pay such a sum for these sort of tasks, and with such a negative outcome. I find myself surprised that I am doing so. I'm sure that you recognize that your silence in this endeavor, and the fact that we were investigating our own, remains unspoken. And she looks over the group. Do you all collectively accept these terms?
Nod in agreement. Yes, Major.
Livia?
May I request to say one more thing and not ramble?
Well, she looks over Aresia, who kind of nods happily. She looks at you. Aresia? Not Aresia, Livia. My bad.
I feel like it's worth noting that
I look at her and she starts talking and
you cut off at the end. Say the end piece
Yeah,
again.
say it.
oh.
It's more a glare than words.
While we had no full evidence, my impression, and I feel that the rest of the team's impression, was that the main members of the Serenity Squad were not involved in anything untoward. They were just following orders, and they seem like good soldiers.
He's a really nice guy.
Noted. Thank you. She looks over at Vice. Vice, do you accept these terms?
Yeah. Sure.
Taryn?
Yeah.
Nemea?
Yes.
Agatha?
She's so cute! I'm going to take her on a walk after this.
Very well. Here is your payment. And she hands you, Aresia, a pouch of 50 plat? Yeah, 50 plat.
Okay.
none for the chicken.
None for the chicken, unfortunately. She then looks at you, specifically Aresia, and says, very well, Lieutenant. As the rest of your group were privy to earlier, we have an issue with the lake.
I'm smiling at this point.
Initially, we shrugged it off as simply an area to be explored. However, a illness seems to be spreading throughout the camp. And we have sought the medical advice and attention of all those competent enough to supply it. We have also begun scouting the outer woods. And our findings so far suggest that whatever is the cause of this illness comes from within the encampment itself. Outside of further sabotage, which I imagine is not the case, we are left simply with the idea, with the suspicion, as it were, that something untoward is going on with this lake. If you report to Kristen, he will supply you with water-breathing potions and ensure that you are able to traverse the lake as necessary. As you can imagine, such a task has been unsought by other squadrons within the military as a result of simply immersing themselves in such a location and the damage that that may do to their weaponry and armor. Unfortunately, outside of the maintenance available to you within the encampment here, there's little I can do about that. certainly Kristen will ensure that you are able to traverse the mass of water with his potions. You will receive a further 10 platinum upon successful completion of this task, as I mentioned earlier. I hope that you accept, as it seems you do, the 10 platinum each now, buying both your silence on the previous matter at hand and your acceptance of this task. Before we continue this war and head further into the woodland, am I to understand that this task is accepted under these terms, Lieutenant?
Affirmative, Major Ferdy.
Very well. You may meet
Sure.
with Kristen today.
Okay. Major Ferdy, thank you for your feedback and for your words of wisdom. We will we will speak with Tristan and we will set off.
Very well, Lieutenant. I believe more and deer can be found north of the mess tent in the encampment about this time. I look forward to our next conversation when you describe to me how successfully your endeavour into this lake went.
Understood, Major.
Good day. She turns and walks away from you.
And I'll leave. We were in a tent, weren't we?
No,
Hello.
you'd left the tent and sort of sought Ferdy out and found her in the thoroughfare.
I didn't know if we got into one of hers. Okay.
No,
so
she probably does have her own tent, but you met her more like in passing on the path, having spoken to people to eventually like track her down.
Okay. So I just want to walk a little bit away, going toward. What time of day is it?
It is sort of mid-afternoon.
Mid-afternoon. Okay, so I just want to start walking in the direction of the mess hall, not necessarily get straight there, with the guys following me.
Uh-huh.
And motion for them to follow me. And then after about 5-10 minutes of walking, I just want to stop dead in my tracks and just let my shoulders sink and turn to Nemea and say, please may I hold the chicken?
Of course. And I just kind of undo her straps a little bit and just plop her over on Aresia.
I'm gonna pull Vice back as we're all walking, so that he's like we're slightly away from the group, and be like, Vice, you know, like Taran got wasted on that whiskey.
Yeah.
I totally kept the rest of the bottle.
Sharp.
Yeah, let's play
You
something
know
to
what?
get wasted.
God, yeah, let's do it. I mean, after that conversation, I mean, my gosh, like, I'm definitely going to need a drink after that. All that
Can't
time.
tell Taran though. I told him that I poured the drink away.
Yeah, no, it's fine. As far as he's aware, this drink doesn't exist anymore. So
Whiskey.
let's,
I'll throw it in the grass. It's gone. We're
yeah,
just playing solitaire.
sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet, let's go.
I swear.
So Aresia, all you have to do is just scratch her like this and she relaxes and then you can stroke her hair.
Okay.
She really likes it.
I have never failed a mission like that, Nemea. That was embarrassing.
Heartbreaking. That was horrible.
I knew. And my gut said, don't report to Ferdy. My gut said, do not go. And I gave
You were
in.
right.
What's happening to me? I was so sure of myself and met all of you, and I don't know what I am anymore. I know that. This makes me feel better.
We'll do better next time.
It's not you. Not you. It's me.
It's me.
I don't know what's become of me. I would never let myself get talked down by a private. So why is it with all of you I feel...
Oh dear.
I don't know what it is. You all intrigue me. I sort of want to see how things plan out, and that's not the way a lieutenant should think.
As he's going on about this, I want to try and use the message cantrip on the chicken.
Okay.
And I just want to say the words, peck her. Peck her.
What? No! No!
Okay.
Peku, sorry,
do that.
Peku. Aresia. Oh my gosh.
I wanted to see if it works.
Roll animal handling.
Okay.
No!
Roll low. I need this chicken in my life.
Theoretically, the spell
I'm
works the
fine with
same
her
as just
understanding.
literally talking to it.
I'm not fine with her obeying.
Well,
That's the problem.
she understands this command as much as anyone else talking to a chicken. So we'll see.
Let's see what happens. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's fine.
Whilst you're stroking Agatha, Aresia, for a moment, like, she's kind of getting comfortable, and then all of a sudden she just kind of looks up at you, and then just goes back to comfortable. As though she heard something for a moment.
What does it go?
Good little
Like,
fluffy.
that didn't work.
What is it, Gal? What do you see?
What are your
Is it the
chicken eyes
invisible
see?
man?
Is it a demon?
Well, it is past 10. That is where we shall have to leave this session.
Bedtime, people.
Thank you very much for
Night-night.
watching stream.
So, thank you very much.
The VODs will be on
Bye,
YouTube
Steve.
soon enough.
Bye-bye.
Our first failure, guys. Our first failure.
Feel free to search
Woo!
Bela'Dun and Beyond on YouTube. You will find our shit until we get enough subscribers to have an actual link.
Can I just say as well?
Uh-huh.
Congrats to Max for not getting muted.
I didn't do
Hey!
I muted myself
Max wasn't
today.
muted!
Ah, Max, were you drinking today?
It's never happened before.
I was not. I wasn't drinking.
Ah, that's what it
We
was.
found the reason.
I didn't. I wasn't drinking. Oh gosh.
Well,
Oh my god.
Oh, that is a good
goodbye, stream.
Bye, stream.
Bye, stream.
Bye-bye.
Bye.